All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Freedom 250 Topuria versus Gaethje, taking a look at and giving our predictions for the upcoming UFC fight night, Kape versus Horiguchi. To do all of that with me, as always, you know him, you love him. He's the Ohio player. He is an American patriot. He is Mr. Chase Parton. How are you, sir?
Dude, I am very, very good. We had a very cool weekend. Of course, we had fights on Sunday that we get to talk about, and it is now Monday, so I'm excited to run down everything that we saw. It for sure was something to behold. So cap it off, brother.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, they were on Sunday, of course. We could talk about some of that and everything else. We'll get into UFC Freedom 250 in just a second here. Did want to mention that in addition to UFC Freedom 250, there was another monumental occasion. And that, of course, is the start of the new season of The Ultimate Fighter, guys. Come on. The Ultimate Fighter is back. Everybody still hanging on to the ghost of The Ultimate Fighter. It is still here. Chase, we talked a little bit before the show. You were not able to watch the first episode yet, correct?
That's actually funny you mentioned, and I think this brings up a great point. I was able to watch it. I could have got on stream and watched it, but there was very much the mystique of when this was going to air live. And when they say that it's going to air, June 14th, they mean at midnight, at the morning of that day, because yeah, we woke up and seemingly everybody had already seen the episode because it's just on Paramount Plus. And I feel like they did that last year too. I'm confused.
Yeah, that is a well. Last year, of course, it was still on ESPN, but there was a couple. I think some scheduling stuff there as well. But this was a unique situation indeed. Yeah, they're very nebulous about the start time of this thing or when it was going to be released because we were paying attention because we do watch longs for these things. So I had seen that it was going to be released at 5 o'clock p.m. I get things ready to do a watch along at 5 o'clock before the White House card. And then all of a sudden, like you said, it's just already out there and people are talking about it and they're giving their reviews and their opinions about it. It's like no consistency whatsoever. So this, of course, came out on the Sunday to coincide with the White House card. It's going to be coming out on Tuesday from now on. Who knows the time? I mean, like, I guess what I had said on the watch along for the first episode is I guess we need to just pick a time and just decide that that is our air time because it's going to be out whenever Paramount decides. It is very amazing to me that Paramount does not seem to have definitive plans for these things. It's a big make 'em up with billions of dollars in play.
No, listen. It's wonky, brother. It's wonky. But listen, I have a lot more opinions about that. But the scheduling thing is one thing, but tough is another thing. So I really want you to go ahead and let me know, was this episode worth watching? Thinker, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, like every season of Tough, it starts. Well, I mean, now every modern season of Tough, we all know that Tough is not what it used to be, of course, as far as entertainment value goes. So if you're expecting any kind of like actual excitement, there was one moment early on in this episode that was a little bit like, kind of like, oh, okay, that's something interesting that happened there. It gives you a little bit of a teaser for something maybe later in the season. So they did give you a little bit of a hook in the beginning. So, keep an eye out for something early that happens that might be worth, investing a little bit of thought into. But aside from that, it is pretty much your standard Tough fare, picking the teams, learning about a pair of fighters that are going to fight happens, etc. So I would say that the interesting element of it for this season is, of course, it's certainly not the coaches. DC is a coach again. Michael Bisping is a coach. The interesting element to me is that it is co-ed this year. You've got men and women competing, in their separate categories there. So we started off with the women for this episode. And as far as the fight went, I thought the fight was pretty good. I did think that the fight was good. I thought it was decently maybe not as competitive as it could have been, but a good showing for the fighter that won. So I would say, again, I won't spoil it. I know you haven't seen it. I'm sure that a lot of other people are still waiting to see it. I'm not going to give away the winner, but just know that I would say that the quality of the fight was good enough to make it worth watching. As far as the rest of the season goes, I would expect a similar amount of entertainment to any other season of Tough in the modern era, and hopefully the fights carry it through.
Well, yeah, that's really good to hear. Hopefully the chat as well is excited to, embark on another new season of Tough. One episode down. You said it's not going to happen this Tuesday, right? It's going to start next Tuesday. Is that what we figured out? Or at least is that what we believe?
Yeah, I think that that is the case because I think they released it on the Sunday to coincide with the White House, and that will supersede the Tuesday release. And so I'm pretty sure that it's every other Tuesday going forward here out besides this coming one. But
Oh,
we can double check that just to make sure. But I believe that's how it's working.
okay, gotcha. All right. Let me think. Is there any other non-spoiler things for the season of Tough? I mean, what else you got for me?
I, as usual, appearances by known fighters that are not the coaches. That was, an interesting person drops in for the first episode, I guess.
What was the initial reaction to running inside the mansion? Did
Yes,
Let's see what were the best reactions. I mean, obviously, because that is a staple to Tough, and that's one of my favorite things is when they see the mansion. It's as if and to be fair, credit to some, they probably never had something like this, and I 100% respect. But it is funny to see grown adults. Holy shit, a fucking waterbed! Like they just run in there and start jumping on the beds and shit. Like it is
for
pretty
sure.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely. You had that to an extent, but I think the only real, not controversy, whatever. The only thing that was anywhere unique about that portion of things was the fact that it was co-ed. So like men and the women having to figure out, where they're going to be staying, and they're trading for rooms or whatever. Again, the reality television elements of Tough are so minimal at this point. It really should just be a docu-series, I would say. I mean, like you can do it tournament style still. I guess it really kind of is actually, if you think about it. They have little reality elements to it that like they try to make, that little heightened element where it's like, oh, they're going to read off the card and they swell the music up and that kind of thing or whatever. And so they have the beats of a reality show, but it's really more of just a docu series with a tournament thrown into it. You know what I mean? That's really what it's come down to.
All right, I love it. But okay, now that we've talked about the best thing in the world, Tough. Now we got to talk about the second best thing of the day, the chat being here with
Hey,
us, of course. Didgery Dave, Bleeding Edge, Lachlan, and GLD. My guy, I appreciate you. Appreciate you guys. Love you.
absolutely. Thank you very much for being here with your boys on a Monday night for the show. That being said, I mean, was there anything outside of the White House card that you wanted to talk about, Chase? Because I mean, we got a ton to talk about with this thing.
I think most of everything that I want to say is not necessarily relative to the fights, of course, but the event of the White House Freedom 250 as a whole. So yes, if you are ready, thinker, I am so excited to talk about what we have here.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and bear with us till we get to the actual fights because obviously this is a little bit of a unique case, guys, right? I mean, this is an event unlike any before and possibly any ever after. So we have to talk about this thing a little holistically, I would say. We're not just going to go straight into the fights. So starting this thing off, okay, let's at least introduce it correctly. This is UFC Freedom 250, Topuria versus Gaethje. This took place on the South Lawn of the White House in Washington, D.C. There was a rain delay to start this thing off. With the beginning of the broadcast, we come in to a rain delay. But aside from that, weather was not as big of a factor as I think people were thinking that it was going to be. The rain delay element of it, I think that they had said that they had a little bit of lightning. That was why it was delayed. But then, really, after that, no, we didn't even really see any rain. At least I didn't notice any on the broadcast. So at least that was okay there. And then everything else happened thereafter. So where would you like to start, Chase?
Well, okay, to go off of the weather aspect, if that's where we want to start, yes, I agree that a lot of people, and this is just meteorologists in general, when everybody saw the Weather Channel post UFC event 68% rain, everybody lost their fucking mind. It's like, bro, they never get the weather right. Are you serious? You know when it says 98% rain and you're looking at the sky. You've been there. It's literally how it works. Anyway, so the rain held out. The tribal will write about it, I tell you. But listen, the birthday plans were cool because it did not rain. But I remember when the shot opened up and they're showing like the kind of the inside view of the arch or the claw kind of deal, whatever you want to see. I was remember thinking like, because everybody was in that moment when they showed that, everybody in the call, at least, the MMA hive, they were like, "Oh my god, they're covered. It's cool." And I'm like, guys, that shit is tall as fuck. If it's windy, the rain is swooping right under this. Like that's actually the tallest it could have been. Like that was kind of jarring for how tall the structure was.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, did you not see the very large gaps between the big poles that are holding up the roof? I mean, to say that they're covered is a little bit of a stretch, I would think. I mean, yeah, there is a covering, but it is very much open air.
Yeah, 100%. But the other thing that I would say again about the weather, you say that there was no effect of the rain. Yes, that is 100% correct. But you did notice on the broadcast, you did notice the weather because the wind was blowing. You could actually hear it in the mic at times, like while they're trying to talk, like you can hear the kind of shit. Like,
Hmm.
and did you not get this?
I
This
no,
was
I mean, yeah, I just did the rewatch and I didn't really. I mean, not so it wasn't so noticeable that I was like, damn, it's blustery or anything like that. I didn't really see it in the cage either.
it seemed like a pretty windy day because when I remember when Diego Lopes and Steve Garcia were in there, I was like, damn, their shorts are blowing. Like it must feel pretty nice in there. To be fair, like other than if you're sweating about and you got a nice breeze, cool. But we'll talk about that aspect of it a little more, of course. But yeah, the wind was definitely. You could hear it in the mic from my point of view. I remember thinking multiple times, like, it's blowing. And then also you could see it in the uniforms and their hair, Diego Lopez specifically, like he kind of had a little flow for a second. So it was interesting, but you really didn't notice it. And anything else about the weather? I think the next point that I have really about that is coming up here. So go ahead.
I mean, really, the only other thing besides that, I was happy that it held out in a general sense with the rain. Was that maybe not weather specific, but environment specific. We didn't see that much, at least not noticeably to me, bug involvement. That of course was another big concern, and I was concerned about that most specifically because if you were watching the press conference, there was a time on the press conference where there were some bugs on the camera. And I was like, okay, if there are bugs on the camera at the Lincoln Memorial, then there's possibly going to be some bug problems at the actual event. But no bug problems there either. It's at least not noticeable to me anyway. So overall, I think environmental circumstances held out for this thing.
Yeah, I think the next point that I would like to make, because when we saw, of course, the press conference with the Lincoln Memorial, the backdrop, it was a spectacle, it was awesome. This as well was very cool when it was the walkouts and we could see the White House and the cage in the same shot. But here's the issue with mixed martial arts and martial arts in general. When you have to be very close up. So when the fights actually started, there's no backdrop. There's no UFC White House backdrop because you have to be so zoomed in. If you take it back to a few years ago when the Olympics went to Paris, I remember watching volleyball and you could see the Eiffel Tower in the background because like you can follow a ball a lot easier than two gloves kind of deal. So it is an interesting aspect that it didn't take you out of it where like every moment you're like, god damn, can the White House like get I'm trying to watch the fight, can the White House like go somewhere else kind of deal. But you were able to lock into the fight in that regard. But I feel like once you got past the walkouts, you didn't really, it was just another arena kind of deal. So it was interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that actually is the best of both worlds. Then you know what I mean, like because it was. I will say
Fair.
that like those shots when you did see like like when Bruce was doing his announcements or whatever, like they had the wider shot to start things off, seeing the octagon and then just the silhouette kind of deal of the White House in the back there. That is spectacular. I mean, like like everybody watching along, we were all acknowledging kind of together how like iconic of a thing this is, just how the weight of this situation, the weight of this event, and the framing of the White House in the back just was like picturesque. I mean, it like really everything about the production I thought was top notch. I mean, like UFC, it was one of the things that was.
Everything.
Well, okay, maybe not every single thing, but there were a couple of minor hiccups here and there as far as the production went. But as far as the framing of everything went, visually, I thought it was very stunning.
They were not hiccups. The problem that I mean, you're saying perfect, and you saying hiccups. These were not hiccups. The things that I would say or lean on the non-perfect side of this. Everything was very, very good. until we got to watch fucking AI revolutionary war videos kind of deal. That's where I would say the production, that is not a hiccup. They planned for this. That was exactly what they intended for. And it just like it just doesn't hit the same. I don't know. It's weird because like
Yeah, well,
you're just like, oh, it's that. Oh, it's
well,
AI again.
I mean, look, that yeah, I mean, certainly not happy about that aspect of things, of course, but we did at least have some pre-knowledge that that was going to be the case. I mean, shut the fuck up and watch the fights. Dana told us, and that was
True.
the clip, right there. AI is coming, and if we're using it, then screw you guys. You're going to deal with it. So, we at least had a primer to know that that was going to be the case with that specifically. Yeah, it sucks. It certainly sucks. It's diluting the product for sure, especially at something as important as the White House card. It is unfortunate they would go that route. And also, Dana had compared the history of the United States elements to the way that they presented Mexican history and Mexican culture at the Sphere. And it's like, you want to talk about a disconnect on that one. Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. Like the animations at the Sphere were amazing. Granted, obviously with the whole presentation there, it's a little bit different, but like you have that versus what you got with the AI here. It's not, it doesn't really stack up.
Yeah, it's actually a really good point that we should talk about a lot. They said this was going to be, the eras of American history. They did not talk about no Christopher Columbus and the Pilgrims, and they didn't have none of this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
and fair play to them. Obviously, 9/11 and I think whatever other stuff that they had, fair play to them. But that's like very recent American history kind of deal.
Selective history, I
It-
would say.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. There you
you got
go.
250 years and you got a 4-hour event or however long it is, a 6-hour event. You got to be a little bit selective about the key moments that you want to include. Plus you also got to remember you got to keep the viewers happy. This is a rah America event, so like you can't really be showing off too much of the negative stuff, I guess.
And to that point, I think this is to the another great dialogue. This, there was a lawsuit, and a lot of the main portions of this suit were talking about how this event was not for the people. This was not for America. This was for Trump. This was for America. This was a really, I actually, and I'm not a big patriotic person, but like I felt like this was really a good thing for the American person who is like who's got family in the service, who has served themselves, who anybody who supports, all of the above when it comes to, the nation. This was very cool. I think another big point that I told a couple people at work because I thought it was whatever you want to say, moving products because they need to get rid of it because people are not buying them, or a very nice gesture to the the war veterans that were blind or whatever they get
Yeah,
smart glasses.
right.
Very cool. I like this aspect of it too. They said every person too. If you are a blind veteran, you sign up on the link, and you get a pair. So, no exclusions. I thought was all not like all 1,500. Sign up here. We're giving out 1,200 glasses here. It's like no. They said every single person. If you are a blind veteran, you get the glasses. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing for the broadcast. Obviously, Dana on the board of Meta now, so he gets to make some calls. We need the glasses sold. We're going to give them out for
Absolutely.
free.
Yeah, no, I thought that was great. And to your previous point, yeah, I thought that this presentation overall was exceedingly tasteful, I have to say. I mean, like really, there were a couple of little minor moments here and there where it kind of was a head scratcher, but overall, this was very much America first. It was generally apolitical, aside from one thing that one fighter notably said, but we'll talk about that when that comes up. But in a general sense, Dana had said, we watched the NPR interview that Dana did on the stream, and I was kind of going through all the points that he was making there, and he said, that this is not supposed to be an event for any one side of the political aisle or any one type of person. This is for Americans as Americans. They actually even played that clip of Obama in one of his speeches. I thought it was a great thing to play, where he said, we're not Republicans or Democrats first, we're Americans first. I was like, that really does seem to be how they're presenting this event, and I thought in a general sense they accomplished that. I mean, like I see Lachlan in the chat saying, low key minimal Trump glaze, aside from the fighters who were probably going to do that anyway. That I do think is true. It was really, the broadcast itself was not politically slanted in a way that was alienating to any one side of the aisle. Now, granted, people who are partisan are going to be against an event like this inherently. You mentioned the lawsuit. I'm sure that there's an element of that in there. Well, if you strip that away, or if you will allow yourself to not be in that dynamic, in the two-party dynamic kind of thing, and just enjoy the card for what it was, I don't really think that there was too much to be offended by, or to take umbrage with. I think that it was overall a really tasteful presentation, aside from, and this is the other point that I wanted to mention, the copious amounts of advertising. I mean, we were talking about all of these, the potential for advertising. Good Lord, they stuffed every single possible ad under the sun into this thing.
You know what I actually think is the most interesting thing that I noticed, right? And this is to copyright, to music license rights. How were they able to do covers of all of these songs? They had the American Army, band or whatever playing it, and they did covers of basically every single song. They even had people singing in other languages on these songs, like doing renditions or whatever. And then what I thought was more interesting, and this is how this was weird to me. Then Iman Zahabi came out to Drake, but his was not a cover.
They did that a couple of times. They had it where the band was doing the cover version, and then they would cut to the other song, or like they had the band doing like a little intro piece, and then it would be an actual track playing. It was kind of a hodgepodge when it came to the music, which was a little bit strange, because I was like, you kind of had just stayed with the band. I thought the band was doing really well. They had that really nice vocalist that was singing for a couple of the walkouts. Yeah, I mean, the licensing for all of that is just the same. I mean, like, you just license the songs the same way. So there might be a separate licensing for cover versions, but like, they trust, they take care of all of that legal stuff, well ahead of
Gotcha.
time. So yeah, all covered. But yeah, it was a little bit strange, because you're exactly right. I mean, like, yeah, like when Sean O'Malley's walkout was playing and the girl was singing the chorus to that song, I was like, is she going to do the rap portion as well? And like, no, she's just going to repeat the chorus over and over again. So that was kind of funny. But so it was a little bit weird with that. There were some tracks, there were some sung versions, there was, like you said, the vocalist singing in Spanish. I thought was really cool for Ilia's walkout. Like, all of those elements I thought ended up being okay in the big picture, but you could have just done one or the other and still been fine, I thought.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot, but I really enjoyed what they were doing. I'm not gonna lie. It was a it was pretty cool in the aspect of like the sound and what they were able to think of, to be creative about it, of course. Not just, oh, we're gonna play, we just got speakers. They involved more branches of the military doing it this way. It's not like just like the band members got a seat. Like, no, they got to have a seat, but they also got to do what their do their career or whatever. In a way, I don't know if they made a paycheck for it, but I mean, hey, they worked. So
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, like Anik was saying, I mean, this is such a monumental event for everyone involved, obviously for the broadcast team, for the fighters, for the organization, and by extension, for all of those people performing their instruments and, being able to be a part of the show, part of the show,
and
excuse me.
yeah, no, and that's definitely to the next point. I think the next portion that I thought was awesome was, of course, the walkouts, and this will maybe do just a branching over some people's walkouts. We'll talk about more than others, of course, maybe, but obviously how it started at the bottom deck and then they go up to the Oval Office towards like the championship fights or whatever. That was really cool. Seeing them warm up in random places of the fucking White House it was jarring to like, what is Diego Lopez doing here? Just like looking at George Washington, like, I'm fucking killing. It's like, dude, all right, I'm fucking in on it. I love seeing stuff like that. Specifically, we'll talk about specifically later, but the walkouts were not only unique, having the veterans walk out with them, first responders or whatever, people who hold medals. There was a lot of different points where, again, this wasn't about the fighters or the fighting. This was about America. Like, it really was. Like, though, you were supposed to, rather your fighter is walking out, but right next to them, as their chauffeurs or whatever, however you want to say it, that's not like a negative connotation. Like, those are supposed to be who you're spotlighting. Those guys got the introduction walking out. Like, they got the moment, and then they got to go see, and then they got to go see their dude go out there and whoop some ass. Like, this was a really, and again, somebody who's not very patriotic, never really been overly over the top about doing all that, going crazy about that. This was a really cool moment to see people who probably need to get more recognition than they do, because I don't know who they are. And
Well,
now
you're exactly right, Chase, and I'm very glad that one person specifically got the recognition that they deserved so rightly at this specific event. Tyson Fury got his own special walkout, and I mean, if there's anybody at the America 250 event that needed a special walkout and his moment in the spotlight, it has to be the boxer Tyson Fury, right? What was this about exactly?
this pissed me off in so many different ways because first off, they made it like the biggest thing ever. Like the show stopped, the spotlights hit, like it like grew, hit his pose or whatever, and then the lights come on and you're like, what the fuck is Tyson Fury doing here? And then he gets a whole walk down. Like you're like thinking like, oh, he's gonna come down here and he's gonna introduce somebody. He just keeps walking. He just keeps walking. He goes on to the commentary. And I sat here and this is what I said. This is exactly what I said because I'm such a true hater. I do it to the bone. Dana is a genius. Instead of getting Tom Aspinall to come do commentate, he gets Tyson Fury to come on there and do commentating because Tom Aspinall's little boy toy on the fucking podcast was talking about, I think you should be on the comment. Don't you think you should be at the commentators group? No, Tyson Fury is for no fucking reason.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, you nailed the reason right there without saying it. I mean, the reason is that this was the biggest stage of all time for Dana to stick it to Eddie Hearn. I mean, you want to talk about monumental pettiness? Like it is off the charts with Dana, and that's exactly what it was. Because Tyson didn't. If you listen to what he said on like in his little interview, it's so great. He does this walkout. He walks right around the octagon and then comes right over to, I guess, Anik or whoever was doing the interview with him and basically says nothing. He just says, yeah, I'm here. Dana's going to do the announcement, but, you expect something big soon. And that was it. So, like we're insinuating that Tyson Fury is signing with Zuffa Boxing as the insinuation, of course, but to have it at that moment is legitimate haterism. And, if there's anybody who knows how to do that at world-class levels, it is Dana White.
I think, dude, Hydra. I think Hydra, dude. I didn't even think about it like this. If you are somebody who are out there and you're like, oh my god, it's the surprise eighth fight. Oh my god, Conor McGregor, and it's fucking Tyson Fury, bro. There might be some people dead out there like that, dude. That moment right there, like if I was one of those people who thought this was they lied to us. Obviously, there's a third title fight. Islam. It's Islam. Fuck, brother, I would be so pissed, bro. Tyson fucking. I was already upset because again, this was the only moment, right? And I said this is an event about America. This is showing off America. This is on Trump's birthday, of course. This is the Patriot card. Tyson Fury ain't been in America since 2021, is what they said.
Yeah.
Which I think is a lie, by the way. I'm pretty sure he's been in Vegas, like probably gambling his fucking heart out. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's just, it was a crazy thing to see essentially what is amounting to a random British dude getting a White House walkout to say literally nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, that's all that it really worked out to me. I mean, yes, I know that he's a boxer and, I know that he's a very prominent one, but he ain't boxing here and he ain't saying shit. So what the hell is the point of this guy? But yeah, so that was a little bit of a weird moment. Yeah, I mean, aside from those things, I thought the flyover was really cool at the very beginning, with the fighter jets. That's always interesting. The one thing I did want to mention, actually, this was another production thing. So they had pyrotechnics for the title fights, but 3 out of the 4 people got pyrotechnics, if I'm not mistaken. Am I wrong about that? Did they pyrotechnics for all 4? Because I thought that one person, I thought it might have been Ciryl Gane, did not get them, and then everybody else did. Maybe I'm misremembering.
That would be pretty funny if he didn't. Just like, yeah, we forgot. I'm sorry, we forgot your pyro. But I don't know. I know Alex had it. I don't know if anybody else had it. I can't swear to that. But I remember thinking Alex has got pyro, man. So I noticed it after Gane had walked out. So I guess that maybe adds validity.
I think it might have only been for people who were champions in some capacity, but because Ciryl Gane never achieved interim, did he? No, right?
Yes.
Oh, he did? Oh,
yeah, because John beat him.
Right, yeah. Well, but that was for the vacant, though. No?
But he was still interim at the time. There was just nobody to solidify it, I think is how that worked.
Well, then, I mean, if he was actually an interim champion, then there really is no excuse, because that was the only thing I could think of, is that they were doing it for people who had champion, next to their name in some capacity. But either which way, I thought that was interesting. Aside from that, yeah, I mean, there really was not any other stuff that was like pressing to talk about. I thought overall this was a pretty pretty solid event that was that really did deliver on the promises that it had for the most part. We'll talk about the fights themselves, of course, coming up, but that was basically all I had said, leading up to the fights, was that it's amazing that this happened. This is a moment in history, certainly the biggest moment in the history of combat sports, I would say. I mean, really, I don't think that you're going to get much bigger than this in when it comes to combat sports. Just as a general, general sports related element of it. And then, you have all of the production that goes into it, all of these millions of dollars that were spent, all these people that had to be involved. And then how are the fights? That's really what it comes down to, and where we are leading up to. So unless you have anything else, Chase.
I actually, to that point right there, the last thing that I will say before we get into this is I remember I had people telling me, when I had got to work, I watched that BMF fight and that sucked and that was horrible, the BMF back with Charles and Max.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Well, and here you are again. There you go.
Yeah. No. And so here we are. They probably watched this one. Hopefully they gave it a second chance. And they obviously got to this is what peak could be. Obviously, this is as recency biased as it is, this is peak MMA right here. This is what it can look like.
For sure, yeah. And I mean, whenever everybody talks about the BMF, like any BMF fight, I just automatically go to Justin and Max. So like, I don't consider any of the other ones. But if they were talking about the Max and Charles, I could certainly understand that. But sure, yeah. I mean, this is peak MMA. I mean, we'll talk about the level of the quality of the fights themselves throughout this, of course. What I would say, just as a general thing, was that early on in this card, I was certainly looking for a little bit more competitive fights, and then finally we got those later on in the card. So that did go well in the end. Overall, this was an all-around good event, and it certainly delivered on all fronts, and an entire card full of finishes that never hurts, right? I mean, that's always something that elevates a card one way or another. You had mentioned earlier, and this would be the last other thing before we get into the fights, I think, but you did mention, did you want to talk about the Eric Trump thing with DC?
What do you think of it? I mean, do you believe it? From my point of view, what I'll say, because I think this is, what do I want to say and how do I want to say it?
Well, before you say anything, let me just set it up for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about here. So apparently it came out just before, and the thing I wasn't able to verify if it was true or not, but they said that DC had posted on Twitter an exchange between him and Eric Trump, where Eric Trump was basically asking DC, are any of the fights rigged? Who should I bet on? Are you making any bets? That kind of thing. And DC was emphatically saying, no, I take the sanctity of the sport seriously, the integrity of the sport seriously. And, I have to speak up about this. And then DC apparently deleted the tweet within half an hour of posting it. So that, and for Eric Trump's part, he came out thereafter and said, oh, it was AI, it was faked. This is all, a bunch of horse shit, whatever. Generally, that is going to be the response for any of those kinds of things. So you can take all of the situation for whatever you think to be the truth of it. But so that's basically where I land, is I don't know if it's true or not. So I really don't know how much to put stock into it.
Correct. I also don't know what is the truth or not, but I would, as devil's advocate, you could always see the reasoning, not reasoning, but like how it could be plausible that it was just like somebody went, got a hold of DC stuff and had some fake pictures and obviously posted them with a mysterious caption kind of deal, and then takes it down, and then you would only infer deeper, like, oh, who made him take it down? And it's like, well, that wasn't the point. It wasn't a real thing in the first place, so it wasn't anybody taking it down. It was just somebody getting access, doing something that looks phony, but it's not necessarily somebody after DC. When it involves somebody politically related to Trump or whatever, you could see probably which side of the ball field that this person comes from, and then why DC is not necessarily at fault and or probably the person to blame, but he's being used to attack the political figures.
Yeah, well, and it really speaks, I think, to the issue that we're going to continue to run into as a society as we continue on forward. Saying that, yes, because I'm seeing in the chat right now, Hyder saying DC officially posted it. Toby saying DC said he was hacked instead of it being fake. It's like, this is that it all speaks to the same issues. There are, the ease of faking things is so much more readily available to people now. There are a million imposter accounts and people able to hack into other people's accounts. Good fakes, all this. I mean, like, there's a million different ways to trick it so that it looks presentably reasonable to people. But is it the actual people? Is one side an actual person dealing with the other actual person? Are there, is one person getting duped? Is it all faked? Where's the level of reality is, I think, what we ultimately land on with that. And because it is so hard to tell at this point and will only get worse going forward with all of the AI and everything else getting better, it's hard to know what the truth is in a situation like that. I will say that with predictive markets and things like that, there have been provable, shady dealings going on with those markets, politically and otherwise. So it's like, would I believe that something like that could happen? Absolutely. I think it would be a little bit crazy to think that it would happen at the level of a UFC employee and commentator for the event and a blood relative of the president. You know what I mean? Like, it seemed like that might have been a little bit far fetched, but like, just the idea that that could have happened is not unreasonable. Was it real? I don't know. Hard for me to make any kind of real judgment on it.
And I see the chat, it's not that they need to get their story straight. No. So if somebody hacked DC's account with AI photos of him messaging Trump or whatever, or Eric, whoever the fuck this dude is, I don't even know, is his son or something? Anyway, then they post it and delete it and then log off of DC's account. DC was at the event. He wasn't on the fucking thing. So like, hey, did you guys know that Eric Trump fucking texted? No, he was literally like doing his fucking job or whatever. Like he was doing
Well,
shit.
right, and so that's what I'm saying. That's one version of it. Is that
Right.
another version of it is he actually had a conversation with a bot or with an imposter or whatever. Another version of it is that the whole thing is fake.
Correct.
There's a million different ways that you can chop it. Each person coming out and having a different version of the story does track to that same thing, because it's like, if there's no concrete reality to the situation, then it's hard to get your story straight when it could have been a multitude of different things, is my point.
Absolutely. No, I
So
agree with you.
yeah, so all I hope is that the integrity of the sport was upheld. We will talk about some elements that might challenge that going on throughout the discussion of these fights. So with that said, do you want to get into some of these fights, Chase?
I would love to do it, but first I want to shout out Deadly Pubes over on Twitch.
Hey,
Shout
shout out
out.
Mr. Toby, always, brother. Appreciate you. And Didgery Dave, too, I think was coming in there as well.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. Of course, let's get into some of these fights. Starting things off with the first fight of the evening, Diego Lopes, and he fought Steve Garcia. Did you catch Buffer's announcement there? Diego Lopes, champion. No, wait, contender of the world. Thought that was Buff off to a great start, on this event. I think that, for all of these fighters and all of these people, I was giving a little bit of a leeway to say that it was a unique circumstance, probably, nothing that is ever going to be like this in their life ever again. Hugest moment perhaps in their career, even for Buff. Maybe it's like a couple of little minor hiccups are not the worst in that.
Yeah, he actually goofed a couple different times during the night. There was actually one point where I was like, he looks like he's about to fuck something up. And then he kind of like just goofed a little bit on something. And so like I feel like the moment, even Bruce, guys, come on. Like this is big for him. Like
Right.
let's be easy on him.
Sure.
Seriously. He's a sweet guy. But no, so the first thing that I would say about this fight, of course, the walkout. When they came out and they were doing the renditions of the music, and they came out and they were playing Diego Lopez's with the band, the mariachi music was going crazy. And he always comes out with a smile. He's always ready to go. The crowd fucking loved Diego Lopes. And I mean, and how could you not? Of course. I mean, we'll talk about the fight here in a second, but I mean, what else do I want to say before it even starts?
He was getting a bigger pop than Steve, really. I mean, how
Wow.
crazy is that? And Anik made a good point. He brought up that he was like, they made a concerted effort to get fight fans, not just military members, but military members who actually are like interested in the fights, the tickets. So yeah, it tracks that if they're actual followers of the sport, that they would be Diego Lopes fans. He is a universally beloved figure in this sport, I would say.
No, absolutely. So yes, this fight was. I mean, what I want to say instantly, because I like we said at the beginning, excuse me, about the weather, and there was only a few noticeable things. This fight here, the wind was blowing. Diego's shorts were flying in the wind, and I remember his hair blowing a little bit. And then I was thinking, this is it. You've made it in here. It is not raining. This is best case scenario. Diego Lopes, you can go out here and get a fucking win, brother. And then the fight started, and it did not look very good for him. Now, this is not Steve Garcia's best first round performance. Now, he did not get to go out there and show out, but he was slowly dismantling Diego for what it looked like. I mean, it was looking like going to be a hard 3 rounds for Diego because he just did not. He wasn't picking up on stuff, and whether this is him being able to play sort of possum in a way because his chin fucking holds up, that's another thing. When the fight started and they showed that Diego Lopes has a 5-0 knockdown ratio in the UFC, I was thinking like, God damn, it is really crazy to think about sometimes that Diego Lopes is one of the biggest killers on the feet. As much as we kind of overlook him because he's a grappler, he's a wrestler grappler kind of deal, but this dude really is. I mean, 12 knockouts, 12 submissions. This dude does it all. But I just the first round did not look good because I think maybe he's just able to play a little possum. His chin will hold up for what it is right now. And going into that first round, man, he just didn't. He just looked too hesitant. Would you like to say anything before we get into the second round? I mean, I would love to hear how you thought it was because you picked Steve Garcia, of course. And I
did.
just at this first round, like where were you at? Let me hear it.
Yeah, no, I mean, this was a slow start to this fight. I think that the organization was kind of like, gritting their teeth a little bit, like, hey, come on, guys. I mean, this is the first fight of the day here. This is the White House card. You guys need to come out here swinging, and they were not doing that necessarily. So, yeah, slow start to the fight. A lot of shadow dancing in the first round. I thought Garcia did a lot right in that first round. Like you said, it wasn't his best first round ever. It wasn't his best round, period. But I thought he did a lot right by keeping the pressure on. Diego was kind of, he seemed a little bit hesitant, I guess, is a way that you could put it. I think they said that on the broadcast even. Garcia hit a question mark kick in the first round, by the way. I was like, let's fucking go with that. But yeah, low output, mostly from Diego. A solid first round for Steve. Really, it was a kind of a low output fight up until the moment that they both started turning up in general. So, I mean, like, this was not like a barn burner fight through and through. That's why, like, what will be a note continuously until we get to the title fights is that, like, the only criticism I have of this card is that I would have liked to see more competitive fights. But again, in the grand scheme of things with the title fights, it all evened out. But this started that off as just, yeah, I mean, this was essentially, kind of a bit of a sleepy fight to start things off. And then it took a left turn right there in the second round early. And that was all she wrote. So go ahead and finish up your thoughts there.
Yeah, dude. And then the second round started, of course. Steve Garcia came out with a little more confidence, hands just a little lower. He already keeps them low and he keeps his face. It's funny because he keeps his face kind of like really close, but his hands down. And then there was a moment where Diego's fucking corner just like screamed as loud as they could. I can't remember exactly what they said, but they're like, take his fucking head off. And then Diego just like ran in there and he just started throwing big old bomb. And it's like, the ability, listen, coach tells you what to do and you go and do it. I mean, it is a skill in of itself. Diego Lopes went in there and he tested his chin against Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia is somebody who we've seen knocked unconscious before. Unfortunately, he's having a good run, but he was at a point and put in a position where ego on the line at the White House. It's not time to play it safe. I mean, I'm going to either win or I'm going to lose. And I give him props. He could have very easily not done that. He could have very easily just pieced him up, stepped out, let Diego fall down to his fucking knee because he's tripping over himself after he gets jabbed up a few more times. But he didn't. And there's a level of respect in the game, obviously for everybody who steps in the cage, but for a fighter who is making a big run, who's trying to make their last effort, who's undefeated, and they will risk it to try to win. And I'm not saying that Steve Garcia necessarily in his mind he was taking the biggest risk, but he was going to put on a show for the White House, and I give him major props because where he was in his career, this is a big setback. Because Diego's going to fucking leave the division, and it's like I just took a loss for no fucking it's okay. It's okay. This was a great fight. Diego Lopes chins him, falls to the ground, and then we get the ground and pound didn't start too crazy, but then Steve Garcia inevitably kept folding to the fucking punches or whatever. So the ref let him eat a few extra shots than maybe necessary, but they weren't like world ending. This was a good clean stoppage. This was an earned victory for Diego Lopes, man. The crowd really willed this one on for him, brother. This
For
was
sure.
crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course, Toby mentioning the shot of him standing on the cage that's been going around after the fact. Yeah, aura is an understatement. I mean, what an amazing image and an amazing thing, amazing feat for Diego to have pulled off there. Yeah, I mean, I would say that Steve Garcia, kind of got lulled into a little bit of a false sense of security after that first round, which perfectly tracks, like you said. I mean, whether it was Diego playing possum or just finding his rhythm or whatever it was, waiting for his corner to tell him that now was the time to strike, or whatever the thing was. Diego was not showing a lot early. I had said that, I believe, on the watch along, saying that like Steve should be capitalizing more on this time if Diego, because like if you recall in the Volk fight, that was one of the notes that we had said, is that like Lopes seemed in that fight to just be a little bit less of the output than Volk, and that was the big thing that was the decider of that fight to a larger extent. Obviously there were extenuating circumstances with the broken feet, but my point, in the output, is that it was just a little bit lacking, or a little bit less than you would like it to have been for a guy like Diego, who what he's capable of. So in a fight like this, you got to capitalize on those times where he's not putting a lot out there. Steve kind of went with the motion of things a little bit too much. I think he was kind of going with the flow a little bit more than changing his own tides, and it ended up biting him in the ass when Diego finally turned up.
And this is probably obviously a crazy comparison because Diego Lopes is clearly more powerful on the feet and he's not a very unorthodox fighter. But when I think of like the level of aura that Diego Lopes brings, like he's not a big talker, but like Chad just said, he drops the hardest pick of the car. He in his mind, he's probably like, I'm gonna win. I'm just gonna get on the cage and I'm gonna look at the, like, and it worked out for him. A lot of people, and we'll talk about later when they want to fucking do their emoting, they look like fucking goofballs. But we will. Diego Lopes, this guy kind of gives me like Nate Diaz. Like, anything he does in the cage, if he wins, it's aura. I don't know. I kind of he's like that. That's just the kind of vibes that I get from him. He's gonna be a cult classic. He already is, of course, but like the
Right.
people who know.
Yeah, he's like a cuddly version of Nate Diaz. You know what I mean? Because he's such a nice guy. I mean, like,
Yeah.
he's always smiling. He's always happy. He's Diego Lopes. Like, he's a guy that makes you want to like him. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, I think that's the thing about him that really resonates with people. He's a good dude. You really don't hear anything negative about him. He's a coach as well, so he's helping other people in the sport. Like, he's just an all around good guy, and then he goes out there and kicks ass. It's exactly what you want out of a fighter.
No, absolutely. I once again, I just feel bad for Steve Garcia, but I really hope that he doesn't mentally take a big loss from this. Obviously, you got knocked unconscious. You're gonna have to take some time off, reevaluate where you're gonna go with your next opponent. But this was the White House, and believe that you let your ego get a hold of you. This was your moment in America. You're the American. You're representing USA. I'm gonna knock out Diego Lopes, be the first dude to do it in the UFC, and it just didn't go your way. But you kept a fan, and you probably gained some out there, is what I would say. You don't always have to win for people to remember your name. Like, man, that Steve Garcia dude was doing really good. Even if it's their first time seeing you and they don't know what a great performance in the first round looks like, they still probably could see that and say that Steve Garcia guy is good. He just got caught. It happens. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so too. Because I mean, I picked him for a reason. I think all of the things that I said leading into this fight still track for Steve Garcia. He's still a quality fighter. He is still a dude who has a lot of knockouts under his belt. He's still a guy that is under the radar to a lot of people. I mean, maybe they know him now, unfortunately, for a negative reason. But if you go back through the dude's record and see what he has already been able to accomplish, I think that there is a better future for Steve Garcia than this knockout would lead one to believe.
And so to that, what I would say, and now that I think about it, I think I'm cooking. I think Steve Garcia and the Melky Costa rematch should come about now. Both taking losses. Steve Garcia coming off of a knockout, of course. It's a lot worse than what Melky had, but Steve Garcia knocked Melky out. Way back in the day, a couple years ago. So let's get the rematch. We'll even the odds. Give us 5 rounds to work, and hopefully we'll see how it goes. Diego Lopes, on the other hand, I mean, gosh, guys, what can you say about him? I mean, he's on a track of his own. He even said, like, I'm looking for options at 155. I want to take more fights. I'm obviously not going to be able to get a title fight with Volk again, so we're going to see how it works out. But that is the infinite better position for him. Think about where Kevin Holland is. You like him or love him, where he's at in his career. He may not be the best, but he makes a shitload of money and he fights a shitload of times. And Dana White fucking loves giving him plenty of money and jewelry and fucking, whatever you want to say. You are going to make it, because Diego Lopez, he's always said, the people who know me know that I never say no to a fight, and I want to stay active. So he's fucking young. He has the heart, he's got the willpower. He's got the skill to do it. I mean, and he's got the mustache.
And the mullet. Yeah. I mean, he's got it all. Like that there are multiple different ways to accomplish, like, I guess depends on what your goal is, right? And there's multiple ways to accomplish success in this sport. If obviously he's had 2 shots at the title, did not go his way. Maybe that still is something that can happen in the future. I mean, I would think that there is still potential for that. Like you said, he's still young, but in the meantime, be the guy that people want to see, and that's its own version of success, and he is certainly accomplishing that. I mean, anytime Diego Lopez is still, even with the losses in the title fights, still appointment viewing for the majority of the MMA fandom. So he's the man.
I think the last thing that I want to note, and I should have brought this up earlier, but I really wasn't thinking about it and I forgot, but it is a point to all of the fights. And this is to when I was rewatching them. I don't know if you had this issue. I know you watched the entire feed, of course, but when I'm trying to rewatch it in the morning, I'm not trying to sit there and fucking click through that shit. So I stupidly, and I ruined the experience for my father, obviously. When I went to go rewatch it, I clicked on this all killer, no filler. Worst option. It literally is like a 30-second preview of the fight. So like you get to see what happened, but like, do you? Do you actually, like, I showed him fucking the main event in like 3 minutes. And it's like it obviously didn't get the good portions or whatever. So like I stupidly just went with it because I'm like, well, I already fucking it don't even fucking matter, bro. We already ruined the first fight because I was watching it and then they skipped halfway through the round and I'm like, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
Like,
you click the TikTok version, you know what I mean? The TikTok clips version. Yeah, no, well, Paramount does not make it easy for you to find exactly what you're looking for often. That's another thing about Paramount that's annoying. But that does lead me to my next point, which is once you did finally find the fights, you ended up finding the fights thereafter? I don't know if you watched this fight or any of the other ones in the actual full fight version of it. But there was no commentary for the first few minutes of round 1 of this fight on the Paramount Plus replay. And during the watch along, people from different regions of the world were mentioning to me that they were having some like production related issues and that commentary was among those. So I was like, that maybe is just that, and I wasn't really like clocking it too much. I'm on chat, I'm talking to people or whatever with the watch alongs, but I did think that it was kind of funny that the commentary was gone for long enough to hear someone in the crowd yell, "Happy birthday, President Trump." And then then the commentary comes back on. So that's point number 1. And then coming to this next fight, the other main point that I had, it would seem to me, and maybe I'm tinfoil hatting over here, but I distinctly remember on the watch along hearing the crowd noise for the fight that we're going to be talking about coming up, because there's something very specifically related to that. Crowd noise conspicuously absent for certain portions of the Paramount Plus rewatch versions, the VOD versions. So I don't know if they were manipulating the clips or if they had like a crowd mic that they turned off at times, or if they just audio mixed it differently or whatever. I don't know what the deal was there, but having watched the actual feed and then watching the replays, there were a couple of issues that did not line up, and I'll explain what I mean when we talk about this next fight. So was there anything else you want to talk about with this one before we move on?
Just shout out fucking Diego Lopez, man. One of my favorite fighters of all goddamn time.
He is the man. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like I really picked Steve Garcia like with the hope that there was like, that he could have that moment and almost become like that type of figure too. Cause I do think in the big picture, Steve is a good guy as well. And like, could also be one of those beloved figures with the way that he fights. I think that he could grow that kind of a fan base over time. But Diego Lopes himself is lightning in a bottle, and betting against him is never a great idea. So I take that upon myself here.
Yeah, it's okay though.
Of course it is. So let's move on to the next one here. This is Bo Nickal versus Kyle Daukaus. Now, what I wanted to say, and I'll just, because I was just talking about it, let me say it. The time this went to the ground, and it stayed on the ground for a while. Bo Nickal was landing some nice elbows on the ground there, doing some decent work, and then the crowd started to chant, "Stand them up." Did you hear this on the live watch?
I probably did. I don't remember the crowd being the reasoning for it getting stood up, but I remember thinking, "What in the world are you doing? Why would you stand them up after this dude just elbowed him in the face? Are you fucking oh, you fucking
Exactly.
idiot."
Right. So, and I mean, I think, I'll have to go back and watch my own VOD to see if I mentioned it, but I specifically, I'm pretty clearly remembering me saying crowd is chanting, "Stand him up." And then Herzog heard the crowd and stood him up. And I was like, oh, he literally is just listening to the crowd right now.
Yeah.
Completely absent on the VOD version, by the way. That's what all I'm saying is that there were a couple of,
Coincidentally.
again, tinfoil hat firmly on my head for these things, but it
Well,
did seem a little bit odd.
and we'll obviously talk about this to another fight. I'm pretty sure. At least I believe that I remember them being a point about it made. They will not show certain replay angles because we're gonna fucking question shit.
Yeah,
So
we talked about that during the watch along as well, for sure. But anyway, so that's just, take that for what it is, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, really what I want to start this fight off with specifically is people need to come around and admit finally that Bo Nickal has leveled up his striking. See, already I see your face already with the haters. Bro, he knocked out Kyle Daukaus. He got a knockout in his last fight. I mean, right? This dude, Bo Nickal, he knocked out Val Woodburn. Now, granted, that may not be a great accomplishment, but my point is that Bo Nickal is a wrestler prime. This is an NCAA wrestler that had no MMA experience pretty much coming into the sport, maybe very minor experience at best. Had to go on the Contender Series 2 times because he didn't have the experience to be in the UFC. Does that and knocks out Kyle Daukaus in this fight. You cannot tell me that does not count for something with the striking.
I think you're making a case that doesn't need to be made here. Like, yeah, Bo Nickal is a great wrestler. Striking is not his forte, but he's knocked people out before. But there's a different story to be told here. It's not about Bo or about how good he is. This fight was stood up while Bo Nickal was dominating
Well,
in ground. No, but
say that. Okay, I was going to say that. Of course, is the overarching point of all of this.
well,
Yes, we go ahead.
well, yeah. So the point, no, the point is obviously it was stood up and when it should not have been, and then the fight goes to the feet. And had it not gone this way, that would have been that would have been crazy. Like, wow, you literally, you, betting scandals aside, who was the ref? Was it Herzog?
Of course it was. Yes, it was Jason Herzog.
And we'll talk about his other one later. So we will talk about, anyway, but the story here is the fact that it gets stood up, obviously, and then it gets to the feet, and then Kyle Daukaus apparently doesn't take punches anymore. That is the real story here. It's not that Bo Nickal is some superior level striker. Is that did Kyle Daukaus get colded or did he fall over and not get up?
See,
I like
this is what I'm saying here. People are just going to have this narrative because they don't want to admit that Bo Nickal has leveled up his striking.
It didn't look like Kyle Daukaus was, the hardest target to hit, and he didn't look like he hit him clean enough to clean his clock kind of deal. This was and I'll be honest, there's no reason for anybody out there to go out here and rewatch this fight because you're going to be very, very disappointed because one, it's not very entertaining. Obviously, you got the crowd fucking booing for a reason. Bo Nickal landed 4 elbows or something, but they were timely enough to where you obviously cannot stand them up anyway. And then we get back to the feet, and Kyle Daukaus actually does look like he was, all right, now it's back to the feet, it's ready to go. But then it seemed like he got the fucking call, brother, because this is the dude who had just upset 2 really like lethal dudes in striking, like he was able to avoid such and such. Michelle Pereira, like the power was just he shook it off. He was able to just hit the one move. But now Bo Nickel is like the one who just happens to hit a glancing blow that just like makes you cower. Like I don't it it did not seem like the hardest finish from Bo Nickel from my point of view is what I would say, because Kyle Daukaus, as a two-time veteran in the in the organization, you should maybe fight to a position, but he wasn't unconscious, and he didn't look like he got hit the hardest or coldest. And again, I'm not the one who took the shot. I've never been punched by Bo Nickel in the face, but at this moment, I said, "What am I watching, bro? Come on!" Like,
Well, look, I mean, we talk many times about like the shot. It doesn't it doesn't matter like the like there's well, I guess the way I should say it is that there are multiple elements that go into the knockdown. There are multiple elements that go into a person getting knocked out. It's the placement, it's the power, it's the speed of the shot. Like there are a bunch of things that can do it. So not every shot needs to be a world ender looking shot to have that effect. I mean, Poetan, we'll talk about him. I mean, that the thing that started that sequence was a straight. I mean, like it was a essentially a jab that
yeah, but like we'll talk about that. That
of
one's
course.
I would say that
It's
one's a little
different because
different.
it's Ciryl Gane. That's why it's different.
No,
But I
he's
mean,
he's putting all of it. He's stepping into a punch. Kyle Dawkins is just sitting there as a moving target and just happens to get just like it.
again, man, it's just you get hit in the right spot at the right angle with the right amount of power. It's just it can happen. I mean, I'm not trying to be a mark over here, but I think that this one tracks. It looked
See,
fine to
but
me.
the difference is though when those shots happen, it's like, well, when you hit the button, when you just hit that one shot, yeah, people go lifeless and limp, and it's like, damn, he just fucking knocked him out. They don't fall down and just like it. Kyle Dawkins really took away a very good finish from Bo Nickel from the way that it happened. I mean, it looked like he didn't. Bro, I've seen people go to war in this goddamn cage, man. Kyle Dawkins, I was expecting you to make a lot of people, because people were counting you out. And for good reason at this point, bro. Bo Nickel really starched you on the feet. Like, if that's what I'm supposed to believe, right? I'm supposed to believe that Bo Nickel has just he's that fucking guy at middleweight on the feet now. Like, I mean, Robert Whitaker fucking who, like Kyle Dawkins, come on, bro. You know damn well that is not the fucking case, bro. You got hit and it maybe was a little harder than you thought, but like Bo Nickel's the guy, he's gonna have a great moment, like.
Well, I mean, but we all knew. I mean, I literally in the Yama episode leading up to this card had a whole segment of saying that like, don't be mean to Kyle Dawkins being on the White House card. Even he knew he wasn't supposed to be here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we all kind of knew that Kyle Dawkins was not the guy to be on this card. He just was the guy that they set up against Bo Nickel. He had a couple of decent fights where he got some good wins there. It made sense in that regard. But I mean, again, I think that this all does come down to the point that Bo Nickel is better than people are giving him credit for, and people just want to hate Bo Nickel.
No, I think the point that this is the main point, and I just thought of it on the spot. If Derrick Lewis puts up more of an effort, I, can you make it more? Can you make it more evident that you weren't really trying? If Derrick Lewis had he put more energy into the effort. He took more shots. He put up something. Kyle Dawkins got taken down, laid on his back, got up, and got colded. Apparently, is what I'm supposed to believe here. Like. That's just not what I saw. Bo Nickel looked fine. I'm not sitting here. I'm not hating on Bo Nickel. He's still got a ways to go. Kyle Dawkins, though, you took it away from Bo Nickel. That's all that I'm saying. He could have made it a lot. He could have made an effort to fight back at the end a little bit. Maybe his face is broke. Maybe Kyle Dawkins has a broken fucking orbital. Maybe his jaw is fucking shattered from Bo Nickel. I am not positive, but what I would say is that he will probably be ready to fight in 3 months after another camp in the next 2. And he's probably going to win that one. And we're going to supposed to forget that he just kind of threw it in for Bo Nickel. That's all that I'm saying here, man.
Eh,
That's
well, I mean, there could be a number of different factors. Of course, we talked about, when specifically with Derrick Lewis, we had talked about on the predictions episode saying that being out there in the elements may play a part of it. Maybe he didn't acclimatize well enough, didn't condition himself well enough to be fighting outside.
bro lives in America. Like,
that
bro, how, like I don't know,
I mean,
man.
yeah, like I'm not really even trying to make excuses
I know.
for Kyle Daukaus. He didn't look great in this fight. I mean, that certainly is true. I mean, even leading up, I mean, like the takedown was very early in the round, by the way. Like he got picked up and dropped down very
Yes.
hard. I mean, that was a really solid takedown to start this thing off. Then he's getting elbowed in the face. He's scooting. Bo is the one moving him around, actually. That was something else I noticed, too. Before the stand up, generally when you're on your back like that, you're trying to move yourself to the cage so you can stand yourself up. Bo was the one actively moving him all over the place because he was doing it. He would have him down, bang him with the elbow, have him down, and so like they kind of over the course of that ground exchange ended up by the cage and then got stood up. So it was like, Kyle was not looking great in this fight, but I thought that, Bo came here to win. So win he did.
What I would say, and this is my lasting point, and this is because I don't want you to be let down. This is as a friend to a friend thinker. Do not fall for this Bo Nickal level up of a striker kind of thing, because at middleweight, dude, what would Ateba Gauthier do to him? Like,
I think that Bo Nickal could take down Teba Gautier, though.
but listen, Kyle Daukaus landed 2 significant strikes. Ateba just needed to land one of them, is all that I'm saying. Like, Bo Nickal is not. If this was the craziest performance ever, I mean, he would have shut him out. Kyle Daukaus at least landed 2, and I'm not saying he did anything crazy. This is the worst performance that he ever did, but it's kind of the same. In a certain situation, when you have somebody against somebody, you can have as clean of a performance, you can have as leveled up of a game as you can, but if you get hit, you go out. Like, I mean, Alex Pereira was a middleweight at a time, guys. When you got hit, you went out. Sean Strickland lost to Alex Pereira, and now where are we at 3 years later? I mean, it's some people just have that effect. Bo Nickal's striking may be clean and it may be very technical, and he may be able to get this, but when Hamzat might still work him over, guys. Like, let's be real. It's middleweight. This is, I don't know. Bo Nickal is still just not that guy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that I'm seeing like, title potential for Bo Nickal, but I do think that he, because of his background, consistently is, kind of considered like an outsider to the sport still, when I think that he does fit in this sport. That's really, I think, where I'm coming from. It's that he's a guy, he might not have all of like the foundational elements that you would normally have to be a more like in that middle ground territory of fighter, but I think that he fits in there. So that's all I'm really saying, is that, like people who think that, Bo Nickal is just this kind of dude who came out from nowhere and doesn't really belong here. I think he's showing that he does. That's really my end point.
Yeah, I would say that the best decision that Bo Nickal has made is cutting his hair and going back to the beard, but that's just how it is. I don't know what he was doing with the haircut that time, that one time that we're gonna think about. Like, hey, do you remember when Bo Nickal had the long hair and no beard? That happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, keep changing up the looks, and it'll constantly be something that people will be talking about.
Then I'll be a fan, of course. If he changes up
Exactly.
his looks every other so often, I'll be a really big fan.
Yeah, just grow the hair out like Wes Schultz. Chase will be a huge fan.
There we go.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, that's about it for this one. Bo Nickal gets the job done, and of course, gets the nice handshake of the president, as you knew was going to be the case, and we move on.
Yeah, thankfully, not many people showed up here, like the casuals, because like when we'll talk about the main event, of course, you could tell when people were really tuned in. The fucking broadcast wasn't holding up, but this fight right here, thankfully, not many people were tuning in. I would say, because this is probably what they expected. A lot of these, like, oh, these are just fucking gonna be hammy fights. Okay, Bo Nickal's gonna walk in, run first round knockout. Ooh, this one was definitely one that you could live without rewatching. This was not even a White House fucking fight. Like, who
Well,
cares?
I mean, that's going to continue through a couple of these fights, though. I mean, like I believe for the next, for this next fight, this next fight's going to be the last time that we saw the up until these first 3 fights, we had not gone to a second round. So, I mean, like, we're talking about one-sided fights. Yeah, I mean, that was certainly becoming a note that I had as we got further into this card. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that everybody was probably, I hope people were tuning in if they were wanting to watch these fights. But I mean, I don't think that this was as bad as you're making it out to be personally. I thought it was an okay fight. Aside from
Fair.
the stand up that I did think was atrocious. I mean, there's no excuse for that. I don't know what Herzog was on there, or whose hands were getting greased on that one. But because, well, actually, and I will make this point. Actually, we'll move on from here after this. But I will make this point. I did say, I don't know how valid it is in the conspiracy theory territory, but if you recall, Chase, we talked about this, I think, on the free for all. The UFC was its own commission for this event. You remember us talking
Hmm.
about this? Because DC has some kind of like there's some legal gray area with the sports commissions in DC for some reason. I forget what the actual full on explanation of it was, but basically the organization was acting as their own commission for this. So I said, if the organization is their own commission, then by extension they have their rule over these referees. Who's to say that there wasn't somebody behind the scenes saying, we want these fights to be entertaining. Do not let them stay on the ground for longer than they need to be. Take it for what it is. I'm just saying it's a conspiracy theory, but it is one that maybe has a little bit of, reasonability in the thought process.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about more of the referee shenanigans here in a few, of course.
For sure. All right. Well, let's move on to the next one here then. No real shenanigans in this one. Just a good old fashioned ass whipping, I would say. Mauricio Ruffy fought Michael Chandler. It really. I'll say it like this to start it off. In the moment, it did not feel as bad as it was on the rewatch, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about. So on the rewatch, Michael Chandler was very active on his feet in this fight to start it off. He is darting all over the place. He's here, he's there, he's switching positions, he's moving. He's all like he's Looney Tuning around there a little bit, like all very jittery actions for Michael Chandler. He never really committed to a takedown ever, but he did feint a couple of them. And I was like, I said it on the predictions episode. The one thing you could have done to win this fight was take down Mauricio Ruffy. And I say that he was active on his feet, but with all of the weight shifts and directional changes amounting to very little output. So it was very funny to me to watch Mauricio Ruffy standing there watching Michael Chandler bounce around like a Looney Tune, waiting just to enact his own punishment on Chandler for all of this unnecessary motion.
Oh, yeah, I remember making a case for Chandler on the predictions, and that was not my best call. I've made some bad calls. I have to this date in 2026 said that Michael Chandler should win, and that might be bad, but that's okay because Mauricio Ruffy, for somebody that I don't necessarily take too much, this is not my guy. He's good, but he's not my guy. But I will admit that leaving the nerds and going to train at other world gyms is a very good move for what he should be and what would make me be like, that's my guy. So this performance was very, very good. I unfortunately feel bad for Hoofy because rank number 9. Why are you fighting Michael Chandler at rank number 13, brother? God damn.
Dana White privilege is why.
Oh God. So that was very unfortunate to see, but obviously he made quick work of him. Hoofy looked just as good as he always has on the feet. It's always been for me, Fazeev, he was able to put the pressure on him, and Hoofy off the back foot is always where I'm saying it's not necessarily the greatest. He has the ability. He was able to stop Fazeev, but the right person should be able to exploit that. I thought Michael Chandler might have been able to just be that little ball of energy that could just get in his face, but then he decided to just be a ballet instructor. I don't know what he was fucking doing up until the point where like he literally hurt his leg or something. Like he was like tripping over his own foot, like and limping for
Yeah,
a second of this round.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, it was because of all of this unnecessary movement that he was doing. I mean, really, he was all over the place doing very little with the movement. Like I had said that, like if he had utilized that movement in an effective way to find an entry for a takedown, this could have been a completely different fight. But
Mhm.
he never did that. He feinted a couple of them, never committed to them, and then it
Feint
just
is fucking hard, brother. He literally put his hand low and hand high and like grabbed it. Like, and I'm like, bro, what are you fucking doing?
well, that's what I mean. It's like you do that one time, that's okay. You do it a second time, fine. You're keeping him on his toes, giving him things to think about or whatever. You got to actually attempt it at some point. You got to actually like go follow through with it, and you never really seem to do that. So Hoofy, basically just found his rhythm, found his timing. Was very comfortable in there, really patient in a downloading the information kind of way. I would say, like, he was just kind of tracking him, watching him, and then really the big thing that stood out to me was that once Hoofy started landing a few shots, like not even crazy shots, but just a couple that actually connected, Chandler wanted no part of the power. He felt the power and was like, I'm not fucking with this. And then it became running more than positional changes.
Yeah, this dude was prancing around, and then yes, after he started to get actually hit, he started to look up at the clock and dart the other direction. Um, the finish, I think this was another one where I feel like Michael Chandler took away what could have been. Bobby Green, he took the spin kick like a champ. He didn't see it coming. He took it to the chin, well, to the dome. Lifeless, great moment. Michael Chandler, he blocked both of the kicks and I'm not going to say that they were weren't powerful enough to knock him off his feet, which they were. He obviously got staggered by the second one, but like he has this ability. I don't know. Like Michael Chandler, he don't really get finished that often. Obviously, Patty made him look like crazy, but Hoofy hit him with a spin kick and like he like falls down to his feet, and then Hoofy has to go with the finishing shots. And like obviously these when we talk about early and late stoppages, it's like if the fighter is like trying to do something, maybe give him an extra second, but you could clearly see Chandler has nothing. Like he has nothing. Like he's literally just fucking like I don't know, bro. It was really hard to
Yeah, well,
shout
no,
out Hoofy though.
sure. No, I mean, really, it was the spinning kicks. Like it shows you the power that he's able to generate with those. I mean, because the first one, if you like the way, especially again, another thing that was very apparent on the rewatch, the first one hurt Michael Chandler. Like he was a little bit dazed from the first one. That's when he went sprinting, and I was like, Michael Chandler running like Chelsea Chandler. I was like, it
Nice.
must be in the DNA. But the second spinning heel kick was also, like you said, blocked both of them through the guard. But that, again, it just shows the power that he's able to generate. You get enough power on those kicks, hand or not. I mean, the hand can be a little bit of a buffer to just absorb a little bit of it, but that, the power going through the hand certainly transferred. And Chandler was, yeah, definitely all staggering. He was on sea legs after that. Follow-up shot sealed the deal for Hoofy, and that's all she wrote, really. I mean, it was all that needed to happen. I mean, Hoofy is a dude who definitely is able to, with the flashier stuff, he is able to make it somewhat effective, somewhat. I mean, extremely effective at times. Like I've always said, I too, Hoofy's not like, he's a guy that I do think he will get figured out at times, and we have seen it happen before. But when he is able to have his fight, this is the outcome of that, and he is very impressive in those moments.
Yeah, I think that's another main point of it is Hoofy, you can't really say that he's leveling up. I mean you can maybe see it in the background, whatever, but in this performance here, he got to just beat the fuck out of Chandler because Michael Chandler is not very good anymore. I mean, it's not really like he had to figure some stuff out. He had to work through adversity. No, I mean, this was exactly what the books thought it was, minus 750 or whatever it was. So
Yeah, he's an older guy. He's a dude who, probably was, able to pull off his best moments at the very tail end of, his time in Bellator coming into the UFC. So I think that he came in with a little bit more heat than he would eventually have going forward, which I think tracks now, in hindsight, it certainly does. And I think that this is all, it all makes sense. Again, I don't know what Michael Chandler has done to the organization to have the privilege that he does have with them, to have the standing that he does have with them. But this was a gift of a fight for him to even be on this card. And sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for, because sometimes on the other end of it is a spinning kick from Mauricio Hoofy.
and I love this comment from Hydra. I'll see you at the bottom.
Yikes. Yeah, unfortunately the case, I would suppose. But either way, Michael Chandler gets knocked out, and Mauricio Hoofy proposed to his, I guess, now wife at this card.
Fiance.
Yeah, he's right. His now to be fiance to be, I suppose. So yeah, he did that. But of course, his heart belongs to Jesus. He made that very clear.
Yes, absolutely. But no, sure, for sure, him. No, what's his face? A couple weeks ago, asked to marry on TV.
Yes.
So I was thinking that was going to be the same thing, but then he was like, "Oh, she's in the crowd," and I was like, "Okay, that's better. At the White House is cool." And then make sure she's there. It actually is interesting. You make that great point. I forgot about that because when it's a spectacle like this with the White House, it's obviously to be the You got to be the guy to do something different, you know. Michael Chandler retiring, we didn't get that, you know.
No
Who
retirements on this card.
I'm surprised. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. I am 100% surprised. They probably said you're not no retirements. Like, you know,
I
this
actually thought the same thing. I was like, there were a couple of people who probably could have, but they probably were like, hey, don't make this too much about you, you know?
yeah, this is not the time. Just
Right.
you won't even get a speech. Like if you say you're retiring, we just fucking yank that shit
You
out of
just
your
see
hand.
them lay the gloves down on like from the camera from the opposite side of the cage. You
Yeah,
know, they're just laying the
exactly.
gloves down in the background.
It's not even panned on them. It's just
Yeah.
like them walking. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. But yeah, so cool that he's, you know, going to be married now, the love of his life. But hey, Jesus first. So
Always John 3:16. Yeah,
yes,
no, yeah, shout out to the happy couple, and of course, shout out to Hoofy. I mean, great win, obviously.
everybody brought their favorite scripture. Everybody brought all of their favorite, the John 3:16s, the Philippines 27s, whatever the hell, whatever the Corinthians, all that other good stuff, man.
I mean, you know, God's gun and country, I suppose. You know, God and country, very, very well represented on this card as you would expect it to be. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, no, you know, good deal in this fight. Yet another, you know, quick one. Like I said, this would be the last time that we would. I mean, not the last time we would have a first round knockout, but up until this point, all first round finishes. So I mean, you know, we're off to the races on this abbreviated card. So let's move on to the next one here. This is Josh Hokit versus Derrick Lewis. This went exactly as we predicted, really. I mean, I think that we called this. I mean, the only thing that was a little bit of a standout was, of course, the armbar attempt. We can talk about that specifically, but really, other than that being a little bit of an anomaly as far as like the predictions goes, this was the fight that I was expecting almost to a T. I mean, Derrick Lewis looked really locked in starting this fight. Hokit, you know, goofball smile as you would expect. But like over the course, this was really just a chipping away at the block kind of thing for Hokit, and Lewis being another older fighter, a big guy, and a dude fighting outside. I mean, you know, you add all of those things together. I think that the outcome of this was pretty well foretold, and you know, Hokit did the right things as he does. You know, say all of Hokit's bullshit aside, which you know I'm certainly not a fan of. He does know how to navigate a fight.
I will say there's a couple different things that are interesting. While yes, we definitely everybody knew this is what was going to happen. There was a slight chance that if Derrick Lewis lands one, that he could knock him out. Sure. The thing about this fight, which I find very interesting, we'll talk about the armbar in a second, but Josh Hokit, you know, remember what have you always said his biggest asset is, his best skill? What would you say?
His speed.
Okay, I think you've said his cardio before, but we'll
Well,
take it.
yeah, okay. I mean, I think they kind of go hand in hand. So yeah, sure.
So, okay, so cardio is what I would say is, in my mind, you're like, all right, cardio is his thing. Well, after 2 rounds, I mean, you was whooping Derrick, but I've seen bigger ass whoopings. And half of the first round, you was fucking laying on top of him. He looked like he was fucking tired. He looked like he was dead tired at the end of this fight. And so when I first thought of this, I was like, okay, mental note. He can gas himself out. He can just goofball his way into being winded, you know? And when you watch the first round, of course, Josh Hokit is a very, very talented guy. You know, we'll talk about all the other antics here in a few as well. But the fighting itself, you know, he's confident on his feet. I'll say this early. If and this is crazy to say because for somebody like Josh Hokit, who's going to be shorter he's at a disadvantage always. You know, shorter arms is what the stats tell me. He has an ability, and this is sort of like Josh Van. He has the ability to blitz in and blast his hands as fast as he can, and he's so close that the big blungy heavyweights they can't get their hands back enough. He's able every when he jabs, it's jumping into their space. It's not taking range shots. He's not popping on the outside. He keeps his hands down. He blitzes inwards, and then he pops 3-4 times, and then he's out. And Josh Hokit, very, very good, very great skill to have. I think that makes him a bad matchup for a lot of people. But if you can't do that to Derrick Lewis for 2 rounds without getting tired, Pavlovich might have something to say, you know? So, like, there's my main point here.
For sure, yeah, and that was actually the matchup that I thought would be the most appropriate next. But yeah, I think Hyder's making a good point in the chat that you know it was quick turnaround for him. He actually even himself after the fight said, you know, I think they said he walked over to commentary and said, you know, I need a vacation after this. So you know, I mean, it is a little bit of a quick turnaround. It is also outside. Now I know that we talked about him being an athlete in a different sport. Obviously, he comes from football, so he should be used to and acclimatized to the outdoor environment. But football and fighting are two different things. I will allow for him getting a little bit zapped in this fight just because of those elements. If I see that in a controlled environment, like in, going, because I mean, he went a long, I mean, the entire 3 rounds with Curtis Blades in a back and forth slugfest.
And he didn't look gassed in it. That's why I'm sitting here saying it's like it looks like we have a regressed version of him now.
But
If
that's my
Derrick
point,
Lewis
though.
takes you to 2 and you're like,
right, but what I'm saying is that the environment is different. So like if I see that if I see that going forward in a different fight and like, it starts to become more apparent in a controlled environment, indoors or whatever, then maybe I'll be like, okay, maybe you might have a little bit more of a point there. But in this capacity, fair enough. I think that all of this did track, and he also did have to expend a little bit of energy to hit that solid double leg in that first round, which was really what made me say this is not going to go well for Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis on his back, it's like all you have to do is take Derrick Lewis down, and he may get up. It's not always, but he may get up. But the effort to get up is going to drain him if being on his back does not.
See, and this is another thing that again, when I'm watching this, Hokit, from what I've seen before, I'm getting a little worried for him now because yes, he took down Derrick Lewis, but Derrick got up. I mean, Derrick Lewis is not very good, guys. I don't know if you guys didn't realize this. He got up at least twice, and so the fact that he got up, off his feet, up against the cage, somebody else is going to be able to do that quicker. And Hokit, obviously, when it came to the ground and pound sequence, he was landing some good shots. He didn't finish the ground and pound on Derrick Lewis. I mean, there's other people who will be able to survive this as well. And then when the fight gets back to the feet, they can offer more, of course. There will be people who will be able to stuff that double leg takedown a little easier and make you work for it a little more. The point is if it was that easy for him, again, talking about the cardio thing and he was looking a little winded, fine. He did not get the ground and pound finish in the first, which then he switches to this is the armbar sequence that we're going to. And this is where it gets worse because Josh Hokit's character is, oh, I don't give a shit. I'll fight anybody, blah, 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 blah. Well, when you portray in the cage that you don't know how to finish a very basic, very simple, I mean, it's on a platter at that point against, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You make yourself look very unprofessional. You look like you're not well trained at mixed martial arts. Like you are a good striker and you could do this, but you just let Derrick Lewis lay in an armbar and you just fucking screamed your heart out. Like, I mean, it might have been a jokey joke thing at that point, but you're giving the martial artist a bad rep when you can't finish a simple armbar like that. That's what made me mad about it is you're making it seem like everybody at your camp is horrible. Like they didn't tell you once to fucking, like, I don't know.
Right. No, I mean, and he's out of Jackson Wink too. So, I mean, that's a crazy thing to think that Jackson Wink, I mean, I saw that tweet that, or the little exchange that you'd posted in the Discord where basically somebody said the same thing. And it's like, yeah, to think that Jackson Wink is not teaching people how to finish a dead to rights armbar like this was. I mean, this was a classic armbar setup here and Hokit held it. I counted it out. I clocked where it started and he had that armbar locked in dead to rights for 36 seconds. And doesn't finish by submission. It seemed a little bit fishy, I guess, is one way to put it. A little bit odd. If you want to, think that it was him trying to wait so that somebody had bet the over. Maybe that's one version
of TKO.
I mean, right, exactly. Bet by TKO. I mean, there's certainly a number of different ways to interpret it, but none of them are great for Josh Hokit. Either he's prolonging the fight for a specific reason, or he doesn't know how to finish an armbar. But either way, not a great attribute. And that being said, I mean, like. I've never thought that Josh Hokit would necessarily be at the elite level. The fact that he's in the top 5 is crazy to think about in general right now. But when you say that you're worried about Josh Hokit, you always have to keep in mind the context. He is fighting at heavyweight. Heavyweight is going to heavyweight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but as of right now, guys, I mean, there's decent matchups at heavyweight for a guy like Hokit. It's actually good that he's at the top of the ranks right now because, again, we brought up Pavlovich already. Waldo is another person. If you even give him the opportunity as somebody like a Gane or a Tom Aspinall, Alex Pereira, he's already been beefing with. This is somebody at his weight class now that I think might possess the ability to make a bad matchup for somebody like that. But there are plenty of names right now that if Josh Hokit, if for some reason slips up, there are plenty of people that are going to be able to capitalize. Let me just say that. And it's not even like he has to slip up. I mean, as you see with the main event, You just got to have confidence in it. It's just got to bite you in the ass one time. And then you're what? And then you're what after that is the real question. So when Hokit finally faces his demise because his 2 rounds of domination in a 5-round fight got him to stand up in the 3rd round, and then Pavlovich is still fresh and he's still, like, I don't, whatever the context would be. I mean, Waldo is going to be able to dance around for, for a good amount of time. He's got good cardio too. He might be able to stuff a takedown or so, and when Ante Delia is another person who, if he gets in the right opportunity, you want to talk about the wrestling. I mean, Sergey Spivak, guys. I mean, this is a guy who you just saw him go toe to toe with Ante Delia. Showed he can stand and beg people and not go unconscious if they're not Tom Aspinall. So Hokit is definitely in a very dangerous portion of the heavyweight division right now for how green he is, because when I've always said it, when undefeated fighters are in this organization, specifically the UFC, the top of the game, you're not going to be undefeated forever. There's always going to be the one person that can beat you. As long as you're at the top of the game and you're competing against the highest level of the competition, there's going to be somebody who has a style that beats you. It's how you adapt and how you beat, it's continue on forward. Josh Hokit, once he takes a really big loss to somebody who's not really that great, I mean, it could have been Derrick Lewis for all we know. It could have been yada, yada, yada. But the day that it happens, I don't know. I'm starting to see some chinks in the armor, is what I would say. The low kicks already, if you want to point out somebody like Alex Pereira, one low kick, this dude's limping. We already saw that against Max Jimenez. That was in his fucking debut. Maybe who knows what he's working on, because he doesn't work on arm bars. He plays with his fucking lightsabers in the training time, is what it shows on the fucking embedded series, and that's the problem too. Again, it goes back to, you're making the sport a fucking mockery when you come out on embedded playing with lightsabers and then you can't finish a fucking armbar.
Yeah, no, I mean you're definitely right about that, but the problem is with when it comes to that aspect of Hokit, I would say is that the fact that he had the war with Curtis Blades and won on the White House now, he's already done enough to solidify the fans that already like him now based on what he does. They're just going to ride with him. I mean,
Mhm.
that, because Colby had that same little bit. I mean, it took a lot of losses for Colby to finally start dropping that off. I mean, I think the majority of people, I think, really like were already knowing that Colby was, what he was doing, and they weren't really fucking with it too much. But like the base, the people that like he was playing to, the people he was grifting to, they were certainly still on board up until the very end there. Hokit, I think, has the same effect on people. Certainly in the conversations we've had, it seems like people are still riding with him regardless. And then having those wins, he takes a loss. I think that as long as he still derails press conferences and makes it about himself and is, crossing lines with other fighters and those kinds of things, there's going to be a contingency of the fan base that just likes that because they want that type of environment. And I think it's unfortunate. I know that you probably feel the same, but for them, that's just the way that they enjoy the sport. As I said, people watch NASCAR for the crashes at times.
And that gets to our post fight speech from Mr. Hokit. And what I will say, he's getting better. It's not obviously from what he started out as just the rhyme scheme that's A B A B A B. That's a whole different thing. But when he started out and he was like, "I'm the bee's knees," you know what? All right. Like I was like, all right, cool. There we go. Have your moment on camera where you're dropping the character, quote unquote. Like now
But
let's
then
get
he didn't.
exactly. But like it was at least not as stupid, and like it was stupid, but when I say stupid, I mean like literal nonsense waffle. Like that's what it's not. The Michelle Obama line, I think that's perfectly in character at this point. Like that's the type of stuff. If he needs to follow a Moicano's footsteps, like that's the type of, he just needs to say the outlandish stuff and just leave it at that. Stop trying to go on to 15-minute rambles, because that just doesn't work for you. Come out, have your American cap on with your glasses, drop your Michelle Obama line, and then laugh it off on the way out. That works for me, And I'm not saying it's like my thing, but I hate it less than what he started at, and it's like, okay, well,
Yeah, I mean, he basically streamlined his bullshit. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, which is and as someone who does not like it, I certainly appreciate not having to hear more of it. I appreciate less of it, so I can get with that. But yeah, I mean, he basically, he downed Lewis. Elbows and knees in the clinch, whatever. Lewis basically shut down, wins the fight that way. So he gives a chain to Trump. That's the first thing he did before all of this. He gives Trump a chain, and I found out that what was inside was an autographed card of himself. So
Yes.
he gave Trump a chain version of an autograph of himself. Kind of a bold move to give that to the president, but okay, he does that. He swears a couple of times, which I thought that was a little bit bold on this card. I thought everybody else was being at least respectful of the gravity of the moment. Throws that out the window. I'm kind of on the fence about that because I'm like, you know what? Honestly, like if you're going to go over the line, like there is a little bit of a badassness to being the guy that's just like, fuck it. I don't care that it's this level of a card. I don't care that I'm in front of the White House. So I'm like, okay, fine. You do that. Praises Jesus. That's where I'm like, okay, dude. Yeah, even you, Josh Hokit in the character are still praising Jesus. I'm sure that all of the other worshipers are very happy that you are amongst them. But then, calls out Alex Pereira. Fine, whatever, that's normal. And then, yes, he hits the Michelle Obama is a man line. And I was like, I said it on the watch along. If the idea is to make people hate you, then certainly you accomplish that. But it's not because of the political aspect of it or anything like that. That is a fucking 15-year-old meme, Chase. That is a meme from when, like fucking, you were playing with Legos and and like you know what I'm saying? I mean, like this is something that is so like far. Obama has not been president for almost a decade now. Like it's just like why this is what he decides to do, and why he decided to do it. In this capacity or whatever. The fact that it would still resonate with anybody is amazing to me, but apparently it did to some people. Dana White has come out and disavowed that, which I thought was a somewhat classy move on his part. But yeah, I guess it is what it is. What else would you expect from Josh Hokit?
I do find it an interesting line because, while some people find it funny, I went to work and and this was the talk of the town, oh my God, did you see the guy fucking talk about Michelle Obama? Cool, great. There you go. There's your fans, Josh Hokit, the people who I promise you have never fucking watched the sport a day in their life, but Obama being brought up, or at least specifically a first lady. This was supposed to be the American Patriot event. We just talked about the president's fucking wife, the ex-president, a former president's first lady, and we just assumed her gender. I mean, come on, we are in America. This is fucking wrong. Am I right?
Oh, no, I mean, certainly. I think it's the same thing that I felt because somebody was saying with him at the press conference when he was going after Ilia Topuria and he brought up, his now ex-wife or whatever, saying, oh, how funny that is. And it's like, brother, I mean, the fighters sign up for this stuff. People on the outside do not. And I mean, those kinds of circumstances I know do cut to the core with that situation or whatever. But that's the mother of this guy's children that you're talking about here. I thought it was uncalled for. And then again, like you said, this is a unifying America presentation, and for that being the the way that he goes about it certainly was more divisive than uniting.
Yeah, it's not about to be fair, the Ilia thing. I have my own gripes about him trying to beef with Ilia, whatever. But like him talking about Ilia's wife, whatever the case may be, that's on them. But the National Freedom 250 event, like it is, the point is it was a first lady of America. Like this,
Right.
You don't just talk about fucking George Washington like that or his wife. What did Honest Abe's wife do, brother? She was helping. Like fuck, like. I don't know, bro.
Yeah, no, I
Crazy.
agree. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and again, this is just more attention grabbing for him, which is what he's doing. And what I say to that, the answer that I have to that is if you are trying to get attention, you've got it. And if you want the negative attention, which is obviously a part of this, then you got that too. And I will be waiting for your downfall. I will be praying on it until it happens. And then once it does happen, I will be glad once you are gone. And you know what I mean? Like this is what they always have to realize. People, when they go down this road, it doesn't wash off. That's my end point.
You said something in the Discord that I haven't forgot about. You're like, I love when people are like, hey, me and these other people are going to be wrong together. It's like, cool, go for it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
when you see somebody rooting for Josh Hokit, just know they're wrong, guys. I mean, like if they root for the personality side, like, oh man, that dude is so good on the mic. He brings everything we need to the sport right now. It's like, good on you, deuce. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Exactly. Y'all can, like mom used to say, right? If everybody was jumping off the bridge, would you jump too? I mean, go ahead and jump if you want to, man. I mean, you can be one of the cool kids that way, I suppose. And it kind of goes back to your point too. It's like, if you need that to enjoy MMA, are you really a fan of the sport, you know?
Yeah, and that's I actually think that's part of it too. I agree. I people are like, "Would you want it to be boring without Josh Hokit?" Yeah, honestly, I like the in cage stuff. I like the martial arts. If they didn't have a press, I mean, the fact that they do is kind of weird if you think about it. Like, why aren't they just two people that are just showing up to have a matchup? Like we see so many different things about them in the build up. Why do we need to hear the shitty fucking questions be asked to them like for 10 minutes? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, it's almost more of a formality at this point, especially to where the sport has gotten to. I mean, once you have fights on the lawn of the White House, I think that the whole idea of selling fights is almost out of the window, really, at least for the UFC.
Yeah.
So, anyway, yeah, it's a he certainly generates a lot of conversation. I will give him that. But as I said before, it does not wash off. So, once you start taking losses, once your career starts to change a little bit, just you have to be comfortable with the path that you chose, because you cannot unring the bell when it comes to this type of behavior.
Yeah, it'll be fun. What I will say is this will be an exciting roller coaster of a career for this guy. I mean,
Yeah.
he's either going to end up being somebody phenomenal that, it's like, man, he really did that. He broke out of that character. He skyrocketed himself with such in a unique way, and like he broke out of that to actually show like who he is, but he just used that as a jumping off point, hopefully. Or it in typical fashion with a lot of confident people in mixed martial arts, they get humbled a lot quicker than they're expecting, and we will certainly talk about that here in a few.
Absolutely. And and the difference there too, especially with him, is people are always going to say he didn't have to do it. We
Mm,
see what he does in the cage. He is a good enough fighter to not need any of this bullshit. He did not have to choose this role. He chose it intentionally. You get what you deserve. So,
yeah.
all right, but in this moment, we kind of predicted this pretty much down the line. So congratulations for proving everybody correct in their assumptions. With this fight, uh, let's see what you do in the next one. We'll see who they match him up with. He's stop. What I mean, is he going to raise a rank off of this? I mean, is he going to be ranked fourth now or something like that? I mean, like he did get another win in fifth place.
Nah, I don't know. He'll probably. I mean, it'll just be interesting to see who they give him next. Who is he
Yeah,
really? Who is he going to say yes to fight? Is really, if he continues to say yes to all these people, Derrick Lewis is obviously a special circumstance, of course, but like Curtis Blades, I mean, that wasn't an easy task to say yes to, and then of course to go 3 rounds with him. So if he says yes to somebody like a Waldo, a Pavlovich, or somebody that is really going to give him a run for his money, I'll be waiting to see it.
sure. Yep, same here. All right, well, that's about that with Josh and his antics. Let's move on to the next fight here. This, of course, is Sean O'Malley versus Aiemann Zahabi. What I'd like to start off saying in this fight is this has to be the worst game planning for any fight possibly ever for Team TriStar, because I refuse to believe that this was not planned. That Aiemann Zahabi leg kicking exclusively was not something that was discussed ahead of time, with these literal running start kicks that Aiemann Zahabi was having. Aiemann Zahabi would literally start running forward and then soccer kick the leg, which is not a bad thing to do once in a while, once or twice to start it off. Mix it in there to keep O'Malley guessing. The leg kicks did eventually start to add up a little bit later in the fight, or later into the fight, I should say. But to have this be almost exclusively the game plan, when you pair that with the outside, it's not running, but staying on the outside, kick, run away, the awkward movement, the shelled up stance. He almost looked like he was cowering in there at times. The body language was terrible for Aiemann Zahabi. I don't understand what was going on at Team TriStar for this one, because I think that Faraz Zahabi is one of the better coaches in this sport. And to think that this is his brother that he's coaching in the biggest fight of his career, and this was the game plan, just seems like the most monumental blunder to me in the of all time.
I am 100% with you on this one. I no not to take credit away from Sean, the initial knockdown, perfect, love it. Iman Zahabi though, I don't remember him fighting like this before. This was certainly the most awkward that he's been. I mean, he had kind of a half Philly shell, but then he would just like cross his feet and walk away, and then he like his whole style was come hit me over here, Sean, and then I'm gonna go walk over here. Come hit me over here, Sean, and then I'm gonna run and leg kick you. Like it it looked good, like, oh man, he's kicking the hell out of his leg, but it's like, what it stopped working. Like, Sean just started checking him, and then Sean, a sniper at heart, I love it. He got the knockdown, cool. But the real story is one, how boring the whole first round was. Like, this was.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Welch said it perfectly. He said in between rounds, he was like, round one was a perfect warm-up round for Sean. I was like, that is absolutely what that was. Get your sea legs. You don't have to take any adversity really aside from some leg kicks. Like I said, though, leg kicks did start to affect Sean in round two. Like you said, he was starting to check him. He did a little couple spin out moves or whatever. But you can't just do that and not expect Sean to figure out the timing, figure out the rhythm, figure out the distance. I mean, like Sean is going to do that.
Yeah, and of course, so I mean, as awkward as it looked, you thought we were going to get a lot of this fight. I mean, it's the longest fight of the night, of course, and god damn, it felt like it. But the way that it ended was not necessarily my favorite. A lot of people have their own opinions about it, so of course, Thinker, I'm ready to have the discussion, because Zahabi gets hit with a clean 1-2. He gets hit with a mean straight left, and then Sean comes up and drops him again with the overhand. But then, in the midst of Zahabi falling to the mat, Sean O'Malley is foaming out of his mouth to go ahead and hit an emote, not just once. He has to do it 3 times, mind you, because he can't help himself. He couldn't wait until the fight was actually over. And this is what makes me mad, is because Zahabi's falling to the ground. He's saluting, because when you're watching this, mind you, the camera angle that you get when you're watching this, you got a close up Zahabi falling, and then nothing happens. And you see Sean O'Malley in the background. You're like, oh, he's waiting for him to get up. He's waiting for him to get up. And then you see Herzog fucking waving it off. And you're like, where was he even attacking him? First off, if the opponent is fucking emoting, brother, Mark Smith with the middle finger TKO with 1 second left, mate, he's not attacking him. How is the referee getting fucking fumbled into? He's pressured into ending the fight because there's Sugar Sean's moment. He's emoting. Why wouldn't I end it? He's emoting. And before I get your opinion, I'm actually Tim Welch, brother. This dude posted on fucking Twitter of an earlier finish of Sean O'Malley where he the ref didn't stop it as earlier and he gets a late finish and he's like, this is what would have happened if Sean didn't emote. Your fighter stopped attacking the dude. Like, what did Jalen Turner get for it? Why did Jalen Turner not get any? Why did Jalen Turner not get to end the fight? He wanted to walk away from it and be cool. Where was this?
Fucking
Where was this?
Holy fucking cook right there, sir. Yes, great point. No, I mean you're saying everything exactly how I saw it. I mean, this was one of the worst stops like in recent memory, especially because of the the profile of the fight, of course. But yeah, I mean, Sean does find the shot to drop Zahabi, then Herzog just decides that. I mean, it really O'Malley decided that it was over. You're
Yeah.
exactly correct. I mean, O'Malley is hitting the emotes. He decided it was a walk-off knockout, not Herzog. I mean, like Herzog sees that that's what's going on and just waves it. So what I will say, okay, this is the counterpoint that I had heard. Now, obviously, you and I are certainly on the same page when it comes to, oh, well, that would have just been what was going to happen anyway. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. So take that out of your mind. But what people had said, and I went back specifically to watch this, they had said, if you watch Aiemann Zahabi go down, he goes down, he rolls over, he's down for a second, he's getting his bearings back, he's down for a second, he rolls over, and then he kind of stumbles trying to get back up. So that was their point of like, oh, well, he wasn't able to even get back to his feet. He must have been, he was dazed. How many times have you seen fighters in that exact same situation come back and be right back in the fight?
Not even just fighters in general. In the last fight that Zahabi had, he got up and Jose Aldo kicked him in the fucking face and he flew backwards onto the fucking canvas. You know who didn't stop it? I don't know what his name was, but it was some referee that didn't. And you know who ended up winning the fight? Iman Zahabi. So there's countless scenarios. I mean, how many times have you seen a body shot where the ref, if they fall over face plant to the mat and then the ref steps in to save them from further action? But when you watch the main event, I saw a body shot that the fight did not get ended, but he clearly fell over. So where do we get across saying Iman Zahabi was done, he was out of it, when I've literally seen him be in that exact same position and take a fucking punt to the chin directly after an outcome just like that. And you know what he did? He won the fight unanimous decision. He won that same round. And that's what, again, it's like, oh, but he was done. He was done. Was he? Was he? I've seen plenty of fights where no, they were not. Like
Yeah,
it's
no, absolutely. And again, whether he was going to win this fight or not, it was the fact that he was not fully out and Sean, like you said, I mean, the bigger point I think really is the fact that Sean was not continuing to attack. If you had let the fight go like you should have done since he was not out, then he would have had the opportunity to come back into this fight if he really wanted to. And we've seen plenty of times people celebrating wins before, prematurely. We've seen people jump onto the cage when thinking that fights were over and having to get pulled back down like, no, this fight is still going on kind of thing. So yeah, this was ridiculous. I mean, like, yes, was he dazed? Absolutely. Was he rocked? Certainly. Was he falling over himself to get back up? Absolutely. All of those things are acceptable to see if he is still trying and still there enough to get himself back in the fight. Had he been out cold, obviously that would have been a knockout. And had he been, maybe if it was a prolonged thing, like the whole idea is like, it goes back to what I was saying about the UFC being the commission. If the referees were actually there, like making sure that that they were doing their jobs correctly, to be like, okay, is he actually out? Is this a stop worthy moment? It takes that extra second to gain the knowledge of that, and it was not granted there. It was just like Sean's emoting, he's kind of has a stumble to get back up, fight's over, that's it. And I just don't think that tracks in allowing the fighter to have every opportunity to continue to do what they are capable of doing. Like, he was not out to the point of this being a clear cut definitive, this should be stopped.
And I see chat comparing this to the Kyle Daukaus fight. It's like, where are you seeing the comparison when Sean O'Malley is standing there saluting while Aiemann Zahabi is standing up, where Bo Nickel is standing on top of Kyle Daukaus while he cowers up?
Yeah,
I
completely
don't.
different.
It is absolutely different. That is very interesting that you guys are drawing conclusions there, and it just sucks because Sean O'Malley had himself a really cool finish, but the only thing that you think is, why the fuck is he emoting? Like, why is he so, bro? Like, it would have been a cool fucking thing if he would have been lifeless, like unconscious, and he's emoting and he fucking
And
like like.
and to the same point, all Sean needed to do was go and ground and pound to get the same finish. He could have absolutely had this, no problems, no questions asked.
It's really just the mentality. It's really the mentality. He was fucking seething to fucking emo. On the White
Exactly.
House, I gotta look at the flag. I gotta fucking emo. I just dropped him. The fight's over, of course. But like, yeah, of course, of course. For Sean O'Malley, yes, I know we have to end the fight and make sure he gets the cool salute. I know. I got it. I know, guys. It's whatever though.
Yeah, no, I mean, this I think is people wanting this to be a different thing than it actually is, which is fine. Look, you got your moment there. Sean gets his emote, so congratulations on that. You get a nice little, yet another highlight. And this is going to be one that'll be played before Sean O'Malley fights coming forward. So, I mean, that's certainly the thing that you get out of this. But to think that this was a good stoppage, I think I mean, either it's bias or it's not recognizing what the situation was. That's the only way I can look at it.
Right, everybody deserves an equal chance, of course, but
Right.
if your opponent is emoting over you while you're trying to stand up, I don't think, or walking away, Roman Kopylov and Chris Curtis, it ended with 1 second left, and it gave Roman Kopylov a TKO while he's walking towards his corner. How's that fucking work?
Right.
Like, so plenty of situations have ended just like this. Mark Smith, is a culprit, of course, with two specific ones. And then Jason Herzog on this event itself had two moments where he's like, just decides to do whatever the fuck he wants,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about the main event, of course, as well. So the whole officiating crew really they just, they did what the fuck they want tonight. They made sure that the fights went the way that they were going to go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, prioritize entertainment, perhaps. You don't get the same gravitas if he has to go and ground and pound. Like you said, you want the emote, you want the walk-off version of the emote. So there you go. Herzog making it happen. Congratulations. It was a team effort.
Yeah. Yeah, it was whatever, man. I hope Sean, I hope I hope he sees the pictures of him doing the salute while Zahabi's like getting up. Like, cause in my opinion, man, that ruins the fucking picture, doesn't it? Man, I didn't cold him. Damn, I was saluting and my opponent was still alive.
Yeah,
What am I
and
fucking doing?
think about how great it would have been had Herzog actually let this go on, as it should have gone, and Zahabi does get some second wind, comes back, and just takes Sean down at that point, and the fight becomes a completely different story.
But everybody's gonna sit here and say, but that's not what would have. You would have just ground and pounded them in 2 seconds. The fight would have been over 2 seconds later. Again, would it have been? And we're going to talk about this fight here in a second, where I saw some pretty vicious, and illegal ground and pound, and the fighter was still able to get back to their feet. So, would you like to roll us into this
Yeah.
next fight?
And right. And my last point to what you're saying there, though, is just to say you'll never know. You know what I mean? Like, you say that you're very confident in believing that, but you'll never know because it wasn't allowed to go there. So either
Yeah.
way, yes, let's roll on to the next one. Of course, this is the co-main event of the evening. This, of course, is Alex Pereira versus Ciryl Gane. This, of course, is also for the interim heavyweight championship here.
Okay, so this fight did not go the way that we wanted it to. Towards the end of the week, I will admit I was starting to get the aura from Alex. I had picked Alex initially, don't get me wrong. And I had said to myself, Ciryl Gane is like, this is like his fifth opportunity at a belt, like, including interims, including all the opportunities. They really want him to get the belt, and he's always just folded. Alex Pereira, when that walkout hits, that dude's he people get shook, like and so anyway, I was expecting this walkout really to strike fear in Ciryl Gane, but I give him massive credit. This dude has went up against Tom Aspinall, Francis Ngannou, John Jones, and now Alex Pereira. This dude is one of the more fearless people that we have in the organization. He may not seem it, but he really is. Like when you really break down the X's and O's, this dude he's phenomenal when it comes to heart. And so the walkout, I was thinking, man, he's gonna do it. The walkout is really gonna be where Ciryl Gane feels the aura, and he's gonna set the tone, and we're gonna get in here, and Alex is gonna do whatever he wants. Well, Ciryl Gane is very, very good, guys, and we knew this, and we knew that Ciryl Gane is capable of beating almost every heavyweight on the planet, even if they are a light heavyweight that steps into the division. But I thought by the power of God and with Almighty willing, Alex Pereira was going to make this possible. And he just wasn't. He just wasn't able to do that. I mean, it was just a style that is not suited for him to win. I mean, it's a different matchup than what Israel Adesanya offered. Yes, they're both light on their feet. Yes, they're both elusive. Ciryl Gane is looked at even before the fight. The commentators are saying this guy's not that powerful. You don't have to worry about the power with Ciryl Gane. He doesn't normally. It's late that he TKOs, but guys, Ciryl Gane is solid. He knocked Alex down with a jab. I mean, it was a stern jab where Alex walked right into it. I mean, it was brick meets wall, and then we get to the ground. I mean, and this is where again I'm very, very happy at the stoppage at this. Obviously, the way that it ends here in a few, but this could have been the stoppage right here. The fight could have been stopped right off this jab where Ciryl Gane is landing these massive and illegal shots to the back of Alex's head. And that's,
Well,
go ahead.
no, yeah, I was before we get into all of that too, because I don't want to. Yeah, obviously that's a huge part of this narrative here. But to say, the first round of this fight I thought was, kind of chess matchy. Gon had the stronger connections. Poatan was having trouble finding entries, is what it seemed like to me. But, they're figuring each other out. Obviously, the tension is very high. These two big guys over here kind of felt like anything could happen, so the excitement was certainly palpable. A lot of kicks being traded. You could tell that both these guys were respectful of the power. The thing that really stood out to me based on what you were saying with when it comes to Ciryl Gane was after the jab dropped him in the second, the shots before the illegal strikes, which we will certainly talk about, but the shots that were after Pereira was like on his knees, basically off of that, he goes down, gets back onto his knees, and then he's hugging onto Ciryl Gane's leg there. Ciryl Gane just wings these shots to the side of the head, and you see the power that those were landing with. I mean, like the fact that Pereira didn't go out off of those shots is kind of amazing to me. But to think, like I say that to say, to think that Ciryl Gane is not of the caliber of an elite heavyweight, I think is misguided. And I'm certainly guilty of maybe miscategorizing Ciryl Gane to a little bit of an extent. I've always said that he is elite, but he is at the lower level of elite. Like he's at the very cusp of greatness and elite, like where that little line is. He's probably a little bit better than that, I would say, as far as like how I should be assessing him. But that comes with the huge caveat of the fact that he is a known cheater and was essentially allowed to cheat again. So go ahead, Chase.
And I definitely agree with you. Yeah, some fighters, and I've said this before, it is their fighting style to cheat. I mean, it's not cheating if you don't get caught. And Ciryl Gane, by my estimates, didn't get fucking warned not a goddamn time in this one. I didn't hear Herb Dean say, back of the head, watch it, back of the head. I mean, and to be fair, all the strikes were coming so fast. I mean, it's very hard to like wrap your head around, like, oh, is that, oh, he's already got seven more. You know, he was smashing this dude's head. And you are right. These were crazy shots to just be landing, and Alex to actually get up from them after. And then you get these elbows to the back of the head. And Ciryl Gane is one of these guys where he's I don't think it's necessarily him trying to be dirty, but he is one of these guys who he is a fighter. You know, he wherever the fight goes, he will figure out a way to hurt you. You know, like that is his goal. It's like I'm going to win the fight. I'm going to hit you as hard as I can any way that's possible. And you know, like when you go back to like with the Tai Tuivasa finish, you know, he throws like these hammer fists to like the fucking side. It's like he's so just there to punch people. And you know, sometimes, you know, obviously the eye pokes and the dick kicks, he is cheating, of course. This is bending the rules to his advantage. um Ciryl Gane is just, unfortunately, he's a fighter's fighter. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, I mean, but so that's where it becomes he can't keep getting away with this situation. I mean, like that's the problem is that you're look, I acknowledge what you're saying because you know you've said this about other fighters too, and like you know I understand the concept of how you're getting at this, where it's like you know if you're in the fight, you're in the moment, you're just doing what you do. You know, your aim is to win. You're not as considering of all, even though you should be. You know,
Not
you're
considering their safety. I mean, that's
well, not no, 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 not considering the rules. I mean, like again, you know, this is yes, it's fighting, and yes, it is violent, and yes, it is all of those things. But this is not a street fight here. There's structure to this sport. There are rules to be followed. There is a referee telling you the rules before the fight starts. You know, we went over the rules in the back, kind of thing. This is where it comes down to these referees, and I do not understand. Herb Dean was looking right at these elbows raining down. This is like not even a warning about them. It was, you know what this was a lot like? This was a lot like Chandler versus Oliveira when Keith Peterson was looking right at the back of the headshots. And it was to me so blatant that I didn't think that they were illegal because I saw the referee and I'm like, surely the referee would be saying something if these were illegal shots. Maybe I'm not seeing it correctly because on the watch along, you know, see, shout out to CTE. He was in there with me saying that, you know, those were all illegal shots. And I was like, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch the footage because, you know, it went so fast. They did not show the replay of the footage. You were mentioning that earlier, of course, very strategically, I might add. And, you know, so like, you know, we didn't see it again. I said, I'm going to go back and rewatch. I went back and rewatched. I mean, the majority of them were illegal shots. Maybe one or two might have been legal in the flurry of it. But for Herb Dean to not say anything about any of that with it as blatantly as it was such a bad look for Herb, who I was defending on this very broadcast too. I was saying, you know, Herb gets a lot of flack. He's still one of the better referees. Then this happens. And I'm like, dude, you cannot let this guy get it. Why is every referee letting this guy get away with this shit?
you know, it's subjective when it comes to the referee. I mean, he has to believe that you're not attempting to you know, break the rules. You know, if so
It
for
doesn't matter the
some,
attempt, though. It matters what's actually happening.
but they must be believing Ciryl Gane is you know, and I get what you're saying, but like it's coming so quick. You know, obviously it's hard to track. You know, to correct him on the first punch because he's already on the fifth. You know, it's like in the moment what he's doing, the referee is believing like there's no way he's attempting to hurt him, you know, to hit him in the spine, to elbow him in the back of the head. Like that's what Herb is believing. Because if he wasn't, he would be saying, "Watch it, don't do," you know, like. And there was none of that, you know, and there never is. And Ciryl Gane is one of these guys that gets away with it. I can't tell you why or how, but he does. And he is winning fights, not because of that. This is not because of that. Obviously, he dropped him initially, and shots that were legal would have done the same exact thing. We would have still been in the same position. It got back to the feet, and Ciryl Gane gets to tee off on him again. And the stoppage, you know, Alex obviously wasn't unconscious, but I mean, you gave him plenty of time to fight back, and his legs were noodled, and it was just time to stop it, you know. Unfortunately, for a guy who's trying to reach, you know, greatness, you know, I mean, sometimes it's not in the cards for you that day. I think he might have a massive comeback and, you know, do a lot better potentially, but as of right now, that fight needed to be stopped where it was, you know. I mean, after the illegality of the shots that he survived, stopping him on the feet, I would say, wasn't the worst move there because, yeah, he's probably already really fucked up.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, like, had the illegal shots been recognized, Pereira would have gotten the time to recover. This could have been a completely different fight. And again, I'm not saying that I want there to be some technicality that gives you the win or anything like that. I
Mhm.
certainly would not be satisfied with, oh, he only was able to come back because he had that time to recover or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not looking for that, but I'm also not looking for a blatant cheater to be able to have the bandwidth to do that. So like they're just, I mean, like, he is this is known within the combat sports community. Everybody knows that Ciryl Gane is a cheater. You'd think that the referees would be keenly aware to look out for that. So, but it's
Yeah.
just, he just keeps getting away with it. So yes, you are correct. If it's going to be deemed as legal because nothing ends up happening with the referee, then this is the outcome. As far as the stoppage goes itself, I was pretty okay with all of it. Only because it was a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation in a fight like this. Basically, going back to the Aiemann Zahabi situation we just talked about. Had it been stopped earlier, when it probably could have been stopped with the initial drop and all of that, it would have been, oh, that's an early stoppage. This, some people thought, was a little bit late. Again, I'm always erring on the side of lateness only for the only so that the fighter has the complete ability to try to make a comeback, which Pereira had a brief little moment of trying, but you knew it wasn't going to be there after all of what he had taken. So I was okay with the stoppage, but again, the illegal strikes to the back of the head really put an asterisk on this. They really taint this fight for me. And Ciryl Gane just, again, he cannot keep getting away with it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think one of the worst production things I would say that happened here was because they had the U.S. belt, and then they had the regular belt. They should have just only done one belt because Ciryl Gane holding both of those belts there awkwardly while they interview him was pretty funny. It's like, one, it's an interim, and two, it's the USA belt. You're French, like you're just holding shit. You're just here holding shit, brother. Like I don't know.
Yeah, you're the guy with the big trench coat that has all the watches on the inside of it. Like, you're just holding them out like that. Anyway, yeah. So fair enough though. Ciryl Gane is your interim champion. DC said he showed up like the guy that fought Tom Aspinall. I said, yeah, no shit, he cheated like that guy too. But he did win the fight, and Tom Aspinall has said that he is certainly down to fight Ciryl Gane in France. Isn't that interesting? Is that what happens, Chase?
I'm I day after the White House, it seems like he's ready to fight. Interesting. Okay, I believe it.
I look, we've talked about that many times. We don't need to relitigate the Tom Aspinall situation with his whole eye situation and everything. But the fact that he is, willing to go back and run it back, I mean, this is the big opportunity that he has been waiting for to right the wrongs of the past potentially. What?
No, no, no. He says he would do it. That is
Oh,
different
you
than
think that
actually
you
doing
think
it.
he's gonna duck? You think Tom Aspinall is going to duck
I'm not saying that he will. I'm not saying that it's likely or anything. But saying that you will run it back with somebody, that's a lot different than actually doing it.
I
So,
mean, yeah, it would be.
from all I know, he's not cleared. From all I know, he still can't train.
Well, and the other thing too, of course, Eddie Hearn has said he does not want Tom Aspinall to fight for the amount of money that's in his contract right now. So, there
And you
could be
know what
some.
that means.
Yeah.
And you know that means Tom Aspinall ain't getting no more money than you thought he was going to get. He's getting a vacancy of his belt, and Ciryl Gane will just be crowned the champ, just how Tom Aspinall was crowned, just on his fucking couch. Now you're the heavyweight champ. Hey, Ciryl Gane, you have two belts. One of them's the USA one. Now you're the champ. So
Yeah, legit. One late night in Azerbaijan, all of a sudden Ciryl Gane is the undisputed. But we'll see. We will see. I mean, that at least this is interesting. At least this sets up the writing of that fight, because I have said for the longest time, and Tom Aspinall certainly has not helped this situation, but I have said, there does need to be a conclusion to that storyline based on where we have left it off. So hopefully it does get finished up. If they want to do it in Paris, bon voyage, I guess.
Bon Gamin.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, unfortunate for Alex Pereira. We were all pulling for him. We'll talk about the whole idea of people reaching for greatness in this way after the next fight. But there is certainly a case to be made that, sometimes these guys fly a little bit too close to the sun, I guess. Going for a 3-division champion is a feat that no one has accomplished for a reason. Will there be someone to do it? I would say probably within our lifetime there will be, but it's obviously it is a monumental task for a reason, and it was not to be for Alex Pereira in this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate too. This one hurt, man,
Oh
but
yeah, it hurt for
it
everybody. It hurt for the crowd. I mean, you saw. Granted, look, Ciryl being French, I'm sure did not help this. But regardless of that, Poetan getting a massive crowd swell. I mean, like this guy, he's a superstar. We all, like everybody knows Alex Pereira. Everybody is a fan of Alex Pereira. The crowd wanted this as much as the people at home. It sucked for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. But thankfully this main event was something to take my head off of the
I was
Alex
going to say,
Pereira loss.
and that really is a good way to lead into it because, like I said, coming into the fight that we just talked about, I had said, I really need some more competition on this card because, all of basically under the co-main that we just talked about, a lot of kind of one-sided fights. This fight here was a little bit of an appetite whetter, I suppose you could say. It certainly gave you a little bit more competition than the previous ones, perhaps, but the main event of the evening really did drive it all home. This is Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje, and I mean, on the fight of the year contenders list, potentially another one. Justin Gaethje twice on that list now this year. Based off of the fight with Paddy Pimblett, if you still think that is deserving of being in that conversation based on what we've seen since then. But that being, regardless of your thoughts on that, this fight here. I mean, Justin Gaethje proving the world wrong. Chase, is this amongst the greatest upsets in the modern era of this sport?
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, I even said this back when it came to Paddy Pimblett. If you remember, I mean, there was questions if he had staff. He looked a little labored in the matchup. He didn't look like he was in the best shape. And he won that fight very convincingly.
Yeah.
And I had said that is one of the best performances, of all time potentially, and then here we are, and I said if he beats Ilia, I mean, it's no doubt. I mean, fighter of the year has to be Justin Gaethje. I mean, you blow a lot of things out of proportion when somebody wins the belt. Oh, he's the champion. Of course, Islam's a champion. He fucking defended it once this year. Of course, he's the fighter of the year. But when people actually put on performances that are like, he was counted out in both of them. He wasn't even supposed to be the interim. He wasn't even supposed to be the champ. He was supposed to get dropped down to fucking like 10th ranked after Paddy whoops
Supposed to
him.
retire.
It,
I mean,
there you
yeah,
go.
amazing.
So everything is absolutely insane about this. And he was the perfect dude to really make this upset. Everything about Ilia, when you watch it back, I mean, you can see the signs there. I remember when he had the walkout, right? And he's walking down the aisle and he takes a look at the president photos and he looks over at Trump and he like winks and he's like, he gives the look like, appreciate you for this opportunity, boss. I'm about to go out here and fucking make myself known. And so like when you're watching him line up and he's got like that smile on his face, he's got the the new slick back hair kind of deal. The writing really did feel like it was on the wall after the fact. I was like, God damn, it really did bite him in the ass. The day came because when the fight started, first off, Ilia had this new stance. I don't know if you noticed this, where he's going to stick his hips outwards and his feet. And I was like, what the fuck? This is not, please, God, no, please fight normal. What are you doing? So he came out here with this weird new stance, first round, whatever. Second round, Ilia, obviously gets the body shot. He was working him. The power was thudding. This was Ilia right here. This was the Ilia in round two. Knocks Justin down. And then we get to this grappling sequence. And this is where ego is a motherfucker. Because I want you to remind yourself of how Khabib finished Justin Gaethje. And it was via the triangle choke. And that's and Ilia, in the moment of having Justin Gaethje hurt and having dominant position on him, he thought, I'm going to one up Khabib. I'm going to fucking do the triangle now. You think you're good? I'm going to do it. And this dude fucked up because that was the moment where he didn't get it. And then now we have a fight on our hands where fourth round or third round starts and fucking Ilia has a Justin Gaethje who's fresh now. Like he gave him with the body shot, but then he got to lay on his fucking back for
Well,
a minute
all
and a
right.
half.
See, now I think that maybe we're seeing that from two different perspectives then, because what I say about this fight coming out the gate was that Justin, what?
Brother, Josh Van going for the submission on Tatsuro was stupid to you. You better fucking
No, no,
tell
no. I'm
Ilia
not.
he is an idiot.
No, I'm not saying that he should have gone for the submission. I'm saying that what the thought process is different here. So hear me out. So Justin Gaethje starts this fight tremendously strongly. I mean, he wasted no time. If you noticed the redness around Topuria's eyes, which of course was a big narrative through all of this. I mean, how he looked like he had cat scratches all over his face by the end of this thing. That redness started from the very first jab. by the way. Especially went back to look for that, specifically because I in my mind was clocking it in real time on the watch along, and I was like, did it start from the very beginning? Yeah, it did. Justin Gaethje hits like a truck. So I mean, like this all was in motion from the very beginning. But going through that first round, they're touching each other up. That first round was really electric. I mean, by the time that they got to that sequence where they were really trading towards the end of the round, it was like, wow, this is really getting in there as a great fight. Uppercuts are working for Justin. Justin has a great sneak uppercut, by the way. Like just in general, if he has a position where he can land an uppercut, he takes the opportunity, and I'm like, that is a really effective thing for him. So good deal for all of that. Ilia has a very solid chin. He's taking a lot of power shots. This is a great fight. Fantastic start to this fight. The damage comparison was very noticeable going into the second round. But like you said, Ilia has a really good second round. He's working the body over very well. Ilia, he touches the liver to the point where Justin starts to go down. This is where I think we deviate a little bit from the thought process. I don't think that Ilia was going in there with the express mindset of I'm going to one up Khabib. I think Ilia was going to the ground out of the fact that he had put a lot of effort out in that first round. And I don't know if it was maybe because he was gassing a little bit from being outdoors, or if he was scaling for late game, or if he just needed a rest just because of how much effort was put out in the earlier part of the fight. But I think that he almost had to go down to the ground and do a little bit of grappling because he didn't have he didn't have the gas tank at that moment to go in there and just hammer fist or stand him up. I mean, those were like, because when he had him down, I was thinking to myself, if he had stood back, you know what I always say, step back and tell him to stand up. It was a liver shot, bro. Like, he might not have been able to stand up in that moment, just like immediately. I mean, granted, over time, in a quick amount of time, I would say generally the liver damage does start to dissipate rather quickly, but that initial impact it shuts your whole body down. So if he had backed off and just stood him up, he probably could have gotten the knockout there. Or if he had not gone into a full mount and done hammer fist from the side, possibly could have had that. I don't think he had the tank to do any of that in that moment. Either that, or he was conserving energy for later in the fight. Those are the things that I thought. So I'm not saying that that you're necessarily wrong, because we do know that the ego is obviously a huge thing for Ilia. It's not even ego. It's self-belief. It almost transcends ego, but I don't think that was what that was in that moment. So that's all I wanted to say in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, and then so you go into the third round, of course, and this is where the damage starts to wear like so hard on Ilya. I mean, obviously his eyes are fucked. Justin's punching him right in the eyes. This goes back to, and I hate to keep bringing Tom up, obviously, but this goes back to the old adage, just like they're literally punching each other in the eye region all fight. Like if their eyes look like this at the end of it, a poke might not have been the easier way to go. Like you could have took that and went on about your day. What Ilya is gonna go after, like, bro, this dude is fucked. His eyes are literally swollen shut. His orbital is literally broken. At the end of the third round, we get a fucking doctor to come in here, and this is where the fucking shit hits the fan, because you have a doctor come in here. No, he can't go, brother. I mean, he's no, he's not gonna. I don't think he should go. I don't think he should go. The doctor, the dude whose opinion we are supposed to take for the fighter's safety, and this is a problem because again, it goes back to equality. Fighters need all the same opportunity. Ilya, and actually, I want to make a point as well. The fight should have been stopped. If the doctor said, "I don't think you should continue," that should be it. I mean, some doctors are more lenient, but the doctor is the doctor. I can't. It's the same as the ref. It's subjective at a certain point. Irene Aldana gets to continue, but he said he doesn't think Ilya should go. That's unfortunately what the case could have been. And the point that I would say is, in Mark Goddard's case, he's making the judgment call. Get the doctor out. Is the fighter wanting to continue? When he thinks about that aspect, if you look at Ilya at the end of round 3 compared to round 4, he looked like a fighter who wanted to continue. At the end of round 4, he did not look like he wanted to continue anymore. Even the brother, he was trying to will him in there. No, we're not going to call it. We're not going to call it. But Ilya is just face down, just like
Oh
sitting on
yeah,
the
he
stool.
he was done. Yeah.
So like I do understand Mark Goddard's perspective. Like if the fighter wants to go, the doctor, you can't take this opportunity away from him. But literally, the doctor is saying
Well,
you should not continue.
right, and that is the ultimate takeaway for me. Yeah, so Ilya's corner calls for the doctor between rounds, saying Ilia can't see. They called for the doctor, saying that he couldn't see. So I mean, off rip, we're already in fight stopping territory. If the corner is saying this, doctor comes in, also says he can't see. Ilia does protest at that point. And then there's that second doctor, I guess, or that second guy who was also part of the equation that was like kind of on Goddard's like the side of Goddard, and like they were conferring a little bit, whatever. So he, this other guy, the second doctor, is also talking about this all stuff. He's advising in some capacity. Ilia says he wants to keep fighting. Goddard lets the fight continue. So I watched the great and powerful Dr. Brian Sutterer. I don't know if you're familiar with the YouTuber Brian Sutterer, the doctor there. He broke the situation down. And what he said, I thought was very interesting. He said that himself as a doctor, people, I guess, have asked him, would you ever be a ringside physician or whatever? And he says, he's like, I don't want to be in a position like that doctor was in for exactly this type of situation, because it is, of course, the sole discretion of the referee to continue or stop the fight. It's not the doctor's choice. It is always the referee's choice. If you hear at the end of the fights when doctor stoppages happen, it always says, the referee has called a stoppage due to the recommendation of the doctor. So the referee has the final call. Goddard, was the man to say whether or not to stop or go. But what is the point of the doctor if you're not going to listen to him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if the ref can make the call, I mean, he might as well know as much as the ref or the doctor. I mean, Ilia looks fine to me. I mean, if that's all it takes, I mean, that's why the doctor comes in and does the little eye test. Make sure like are his eyes following me? Like, is he cognitive? Mark Goddard is only looking at the physical. He might be ready to go, but dude, we don't know what damage this dude is like, because at the end of the fourth round, you obviously see like a bone start protruding out of the side of his face, so his orbital is most likely broken, and the way, and Ilia, I again, I talk about Tom Aspinall, I this is a dude who I was sitting here saying before the fight, because we had just had the heavyweights. I'm like, Ilia is a dude right here. He would never quit. He would never quit like no Tom Aspinall. Blah 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 blah. For him to go out in the fourth round like this, brother, his face was fucked. Like, I mean, I am not gonna be the one to say that this was not a valid stop, because like, bro, he was. If you saw him
A
at the end of
valid
round
stop.
three,
There was no continuing this fight. There was no way for it not to be a valid stop.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
Ilia, no, but people are, even Patty, he bitched out, Whitney Houston or whatever. But guys, this dude's face was like fucked. Like, I mean, and Justin, in the post fight thing, he's too much of a pretty boy, is what he said. So the first cut, he was already worried about it. I mean, in some regard, Ilia might have thought like, bro, if I don't stop now, I'm not gonna have a face that's gonna look well again, So I mean, who knows, man? Who
No, hell
knows?
no,
But he
dude.
was definitely in pain for sure. Like, come
Well,
on, like,
I mean, it not only just the damage to the face. Of course, you referenced the protruding bone. The orbital absolutely broken. His nose was 3 times its normal size as well. I mean, his face was completely fucked. But it wasn't only that. By the fourth round, by the end of the fourth round, it was also the knees to the side of the body.
mm,
There was speculation that he might have broken a rib as well. So I mean, there. Come on, guys. I mean, like, there's no way he could have continued this fight, which is crazy. DC saying that he thought that it was 2-2 going into the fifth round. I was like, you thought that Ilia won that fourth round, huh? I mean, like,
mm.
maybe I don't know what everybody else was seeing. I did not seem like a one round for me. I mean, like, it seemed exactly like what it was, which was Justin Gaethje continuing to win and Ilia having spurts of moments of trying to come back, but not being able to get over the hump. Justin Gaethje really worked him over. I mean, like, people were, I saw online, somebody was saying that like the strike numbers were close enough to make this seem like this was a closer fight than it was. If you don't know what you're looking at, if you didn't think that this was a close fight, it was a close fight striking wise, but damage wise, it was worlds apart. And I think you have to acknowledge that the whole point of the fight is to inflict enough damage to have the fight stopped. Justin Gaethje accomplished that mission. Justin Gaethje barely took a scratch. If you saw the differential on the damage, it was almost surreal to look at.
Yeah, no, he was at so they had like the little post fight area. It was in the White House still or whatever, and he was out there, and he was talking about, Ilia's in the hospital right now. He's out here doing an interview with both of his belts. Probably about to go chow down on some pizza. Who knows? Like, I mean,
Exactly.
give him a month or so and he's ready to go, depending on how active he wants to be and who he wants to face off against. But I mean, to dismantle Ilia Topuria, to make Ilia Topuria look like we are in an alternate dimension, is it is one of the greatest feats, not just of the 2026 fiscal year, but goddamn of all time. I mean, think about Justin Gaethje's journey, the people that he has lost to. You know, he lost to Habib, whatever, lost to Charles, whatever, but he beat Ilia, and that says something, guys.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it,
Jesus.
it really goes to show that this is the most unpredictable sport on planet Earth. I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million more times. It's also why it breaks your heart so often, like in the case of Poetan. But you're absolutely correct. I mean, like the way that I described this coming into this fight, because I had said, this will be one of the greatest upsets, of the modern era, most especially, and probably of all time in this sport. It's different. It's different than when you have an upset like Holly Holm over Ronda Rousey, or Juliana Pena over Amanda Nunes, when GSP and Matt Serra. It's a different class and different type of upset. Because Ilia Topuria was, he embodied the thing that he said he was for so long. He took out all of your favorite fighters. He was the guy who was unstoppable. He was the guy that was celebrating wins before they happened because he knew they were going to happen. He had that level of, put it out into the universe and get it back in kind. All of those things. That is what makes this as tremendous of an upset as it is to me, is the fact that this was a person who had done up until this point everything, literally every single thing, including moving weight classes and being successful at a higher weight. He has done everything that he said he was going to do. Justin Gaethje at 38 years old, a dude who was on the door of retirement, threatening to retire if he did not get this opportunity, goes out, beats Patty, in a convincing fashion there, and then is able to dethrone what was considered to be an unstoppable fighter. It really does not get much better than that.
It absolutely is pretty crazy. I mean, Justin Gaethje, fighter of the year. I really don't have anything else to say. I mean, he came in here and he did the impossible. Truly, he made Ilia not look human, not look bad. He made him look like his son. Like that's
Yeah.
just how it is.
And all on the lawn of the White House in front of the president, pretty crazy.
I still I when you if you get the moment, watch Ilya's walkout, and when he walks past, the 50 photos, and he stops on Trump and he hits him with the appreciate you for the layup here on the White House. Fuck yeah. I'll go defend my belt on the White House, like psh, and then fuck what he got, man. I just know that is sick, man.
Yeah,
Fuck, brother.
absolutely. And
Sport is cruel.
well, yeah, of course, it's going to break your heart over and over again. It's very rare that you get what you want out of it, but you get what you need sometimes. And I think that Justin Gaethje getting the win was really, in the big picture, it's okay. It makes sense and it's a good thing. So, the last thing I wanted to mention about this is that somebody had asked, do you think that Sean Strickland has the case for Fighter of the Year over Justin Gaethje based on the upset over Hamzat? And the reason that I would say no, because he was saying, he has two of now the biggest upsets in the sport, Sean Strickland, over Israel Adesanya and now over Hamzat. And the reason I would say no is only because the intensity of this, as well as the fact that he had two fight of the year contenders in the same year.
Mhm.
If Sean had done both in the same year, maybe there would be some more of a case for it. But I mean, Justin beating Patty and then Justin beating Ilia in the same year, like, this is the year of Justin Gaethje.
I mean, and not even to be, listen, Hamzat and Strickland, for fight of the year or for fighter of the year, whatever you want to say for Strickland in the case. Josh Van is over him. So hate to break it to you. Strickland ain't getting shit on this year when it comes to the accolades. But this fight right here, man, yeah, fight of the year for sure. But Justin Gaethje, it really is. It is a hard task for me to be like, yeah, that's my fighter of the year over Justin Gaethje now. So we'll have to see
Right.
how the rest of the year shapes out.
Of course, of course. And we got plenty to go, but we don't have any more to go on this card because that was the last and main event of this card. So after talking it all through, Chase, that is UFC Freedom 250. What did you think of the White House card?
It was surreal. It really was. Like I thought 300 was something that I could be very happy about, getting to see, because I joined the sport a lot later, and I'm in awe at the fact that something that I love is like It was the big bro. The White House lawn, guys. It could have been a basketball court. Barack Obama loved basketball. You know, it could have been a football field. It could have been a soccer field. It was the UFC, and for that, I will say, Donald Trump. Yeah, I hope you had a good birthday, and you truly are a Chad for making the UFC happen on the White House lawn. I will concede there. Out of all the other things that people have problems with you, you got a positive thing in my book. You made the UFC happen on the White House lawn. Continue on, go on about your other scandals.
Fair. Yeah, very fair. I mean, look, as I had said, in politics aside, I thought that this event was tasteful in a general sense, at least from the organization side. I thought it was beautiful. It really, I mean, like, as sappy and as, soft as that may sound, to see the White House and, behind the octagon, I thought the claw was cool. I mean, like, all of those elements really, like, just the aesthetics of it were very compelling to me. I thought the production value of everything looked amazing. And like you said, I mean, the gravity of this show at this place, in this time, it really cannot be overstated how amazing of a thing this was for the sport and for us as fans. I am also in awe of what we saw here. It truly is amazing. And really, I mean, again, not to be too overly sentimental about it, but like to know that we collectively witnessed
Mhm.
history. I mean, I think there's something pretty amazing. So, as people that cover this sport and as people who are longtime fans of it, or people who are very glued to it and follow it on a regular basis. I mean, we see fights. We literally saw the fights in Winnipeg, Canada. Wouldn't necessarily say that that's like, a monumental location for fights, right? I mean, great place, whatever. Not trying to diss Winnipeg specifically, but you know what I'm saying. It's we see fights all over the place. We see fights in many different places in the world. To see fights at the center of the free world, in front of the president, no matter what you think of the president, the fact that it was in front of the sitting president of the United States at this level, there really, I don't think will be anything like this again. So to have been here for it, I think is a very special
So a
thing.
few years down the line, maybe decades, even millennia, depending on how long the human race makes it, when there is an AI video explaining what happened at the White House for the UFC event, you can say, I watched that. I didn't have AI is telling me what I got to witness, So there you go.
Absolutely. Yes, most definitely. We will be training that
There you
AI.
go. Absolutely.
How about it? So, that being said, guys, that was UFC Freedom 250. Congratulations for all of us who were able to watch it because, yeah, it really is something
And happy
special.
birthday, Trump.
And, and I mean, it wasn't for his birthday. Remember, you can't say that to
It
the
was for
lawsuit.
me,
And
damn it.
exactly. But yeah, hey, again, like I said, politics aside, Trump did make it happen. So shout out to him. I mean, look, UFC could not have happened the way that it happened without Trump. So really, you have to always keep that in perspective, regardless of your political
And the
feelings.
last thing, shout out to the blind
Yes.
veterans out there. Go get your meta
I like
glasses right now.
Yeah, and I very much appreciate that the organization did that, and I'm glad that you highlighted that as well because that really is a very noble thing that they did with that. Granted, it might have been a little bit of a layup because of the meta connection, but they didn't have to. They didn't have to do it, so I'm glad that
Yeah,
they
and if
did.
you want me to ruin it even more for you guys, yeah, it might have even been a tax break. If they donate stuff to the army or veterans, bro, they probably get hella shit back on that, But good things bring good things. I think it's a great start.
Yeah, exactly. I think to look at it cynically would be the same as like looking at Mr. Beast cynically when he does good
Correct.
things. It's like, yeah, is he doing it for other purposes as well? Sure, but at least there was some good that came out of it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, all of that being said, we talked it all through thoroughly. So let's move on to the upcoming week. The sport does not stop because of the White House, people. We've got UFC Fight Night, Kape versus Horiguchi. Why? What are we laughing
We
at
are
here, Chase? What's
back
funny?
to normal fights. Oh.
Right back in the apex, brother. We went from the lawn of the White House right back to the shed, bro. But either way, though, I mean, look, if this is going to be an apex card, you want to talk about one that has banger potential right here. Manel Kape versus Kyoji Horiguchi. I mean, honestly, like the White House card was super awesome, and I'm super happy that we got to witness it and all of that. I am really looking forward to this
This
fight.
fight this fight is good. This fight is great.
Oh,
The
I'm
the
sorry.
picks, the
God, we
picks.
all do it. We all, yeah. You need to be the one to be the reminder, Chase. I'm always going to keep
You're
steamrolling
correct.
it.
I had it up. My apologies. So for the on the night, I had gotten 3 out of the what is it, 7 that we had? We had 7 fights. I had
7.
gotten 3 correct, and then you had gotten 2. So the totals for now 148 for Chase to 126 for Thinker.
Yeah, I hate that we started doing this.
Next year we're gonna start off strong again, and then trust me, new things are coming. But
We still got half a year here, brother. I'm still coming
fair,
back. I don't give
fair.
a
My
fuck.
bad. I'm not trying to rub it
I'm
in.
only down by one more. Only down by one more here. There's only one additional point behind because of that card. So anyway, back to the topic at hand here. UFC Fight Night, Kape versus Horiguchi, happening at the Apex. Manel Kape, Kyoji Horiguchi. What do you say?
This fight would have been a fucking banger in Japan. I don't know what happened to that, man. We were supposed to have an event in Japan. Tatsuro had a fight. Manel Kape and Horiguchi are having a fight. Who the fuck's going to headline Japan if we actually do end up going there? Because Dana was very adamant that Josh Van and Tatsuro were looking at Japan, and it didn't happen. So here we are.
I'll tell you what happened, though. One samurai happened is probably what it is.
Sapped all the goddamn money. Anyway, so Manel Kape versus Horiguchi. This is going to be a good one. And I'm really confident in Horiguchi. But, this is a rematch. And I believe Horiguchi has won previously. This was back in Ryzen. I want to pick Horiguchi because I do think that he has a cool skill set. He's got he's the Karate Kid, even though we've made this point before. The Karate Kid wasn't Japanese, whatever. He does have a fun style. He is very talented, but I think you want to pick Horiguchi. So I want to go ahead and pick Manel Kape to win by first round knockout because he has 15 of them things out of his 22 wins. And for flyweight, that is pretty nuts, guys. And he's clearly got boobs in the picture. So
Oh, well, that goes without saying, of course, off cycle Manel Kape coming back strong,
yes.
But no, I mean, honestly, I sad to say, I was kind of leaning toward, I'll take Kyoji Horiguchi because I do think that he has done some great things since he's come back. And I take it with full knowledge that I'm probably going to be wrong
want
about this
Kape?
pick.
I'll take Horiguchi if you want to. If you were planning to take Kape, I'm going to try to differentiate a little more because
No, take who you think is correct, Chase. I don't want you doing that. All right. I mean, how about I'll make my picks first.
If you want to do if you want to do first picks, all right. I want to take Horiguchi though, even though again, for 15 first round knockouts is pretty scary. But Horiguchi is cool, bro. He is fun, the Gooch man. But after this one, you can go first, and then yes, I will speak second on my pick. I think that works.
Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I don't like Manel Kape. I think that he is a person who is, you talk about people that are true to themselves, people who portray who they really are in this sport. He is 100% authentic, and he is a bad guy in that regard. I would say. I mean, like not bad guy, but he is a dude with an attitude. He's a real rude dude kind of person. He believes his own bullshit, most certainly. He's also a bit of a cheater. We know that to be true as well. And another cheater that gets away with his cheating. Kyoji Horiguchi brings a lot of dynamism to the fight. Very dynamic fighter, moves on his feet very well. He's been doing great. I love that he is back in the UFC. This is certainly the biggest test that he's going to be facing in the organization to this point, in the current iteration of him being here. Manel Kape has been on a tear. I think that Manel Kape is the wiser choice in this fight, unfortunately. I think that we've seen Manel Kape go up against people who have really good grappling, and he's been able to overcome that. That's really, I think, Kyoji Horiguchi's biggest strength in this fight is his speed and his grappling abilities. We've seen Manel Kape be able to overcome those things. Sadly, for that reason, that is why I'm taking Manel Kape in this.
Okay, I'm glad. I don't feel bad about this. I feel like with last week with Michael Chandler, I built up this argument because I was really trying to pawn him off on you, and then I was supposed to jump ship, but I went with it because I was like, oh, I made the whole case here. So this time right here, I'm glad you're taking Manel Kape because I am confident in Horiguchi. What I've seen in his last performances, that's a fucking flyweight contender. That is a flyweight contender right there. I haven't seen much of it, but the experience, the speed, the confidence, like this guy's cool. There's two things that he's missing. One, Cody Steele in his corner because that is his fucking grandson. Second is a song that is about making people happy or something because Tatsuro needs to be in his corner and get that song on the playlist for him. Jesus.
Power to the people. But Chase, I do not want you to be altering your picks to try to benefit me. Okay, this is not how this works.
I'm up 20, guys. We gotta make it a little more interesting sometimes.
You can't do that for your own sake. We're on the prediction tracker guy thing. You know, you got to be one of the guys up there on
True,
that.
I know, and I'm not saying I'm gonna do it for the sake of just being different, but I'm gonna try to see it from a different perspective if I can. I'm gonna try, because I do lay out the case for each person, but it's really just like which one am I sticking with? Which one is the guy to do it? So
Well, and I'm taking your own, like the advice that you had given earlier on, where you were like, "What do you think is going to
mm,
happen?" You know what I mean? And what I've seen is Manel Kape cheat his way to victory
and
in the
that's a
past. So
great point. Yes, I feel like I have strayed away from that a little bit. Like the judges do they do pick shit. We have to see this from the eyes of Derrick Cleary, Tony Waters, whatever the fucking Tony Atlas.
Tony
I don't know what
Weeks,
his
yeah,
fucking name is. Tony Atlas. Yes,
Alice.
shout out. But the point is, what will happen? Yeah, Manel Cat probably rakes this dude in the eyes in the first fucking minute. And we're gonna get a stoppage for 2 minutes, and then Horiguchi's gonna come back in there, and you're gonna be like, man, his eyes swollen, and whatever. Always something in a Manel Cap fight. He's kind of like he's a good version of Cody Brundage, apparently. So Horiguchi, I'm very happy to take here, just because I feel like he's got the aura of Cody Steele and Tatsuro wrapped in one here, and I love it.
True. And what you don't realize, Chase, is that in this type of fight specifically, I would be very happy to be wrong because I love Kyoji Horiguchi. I am a
See,
huge fan.
another thing about it, why I'm trying to differentiate myself is because for the main events this year, I fucking suck, bro. I keep taking the people who I'm like, oh yeah, Vinicius Oliveira, duh. Oh, fucking Patty the Batty, duh. And then they fucking get upset, so I'm trying to believe that I'm not always right. And my gut instinct and what I want to believe. So Horiguchi, I just want this dude to succeed, man. He deserves to succeed. I think he's a fighter that I would really like to see do well. So Horiguchi it is.
Same. I love it. Yeah, and I will be very happy to be wrong about this one. So yeah, go for it, Kyoji Horiguchi. Make it
And then
happen.
if anybody out there is listening, we are making picks on two different YouTube channels. We are making the picks that are going to be living in infamy on the prediction trackers page. And guys, just make sure you like the channel that is putting out the better picks that you like. If you're out here thinking that Chase is cooking, good for you. Like it. If you're out here thinking Thinker's cooking, great for you. Like and subscribe right here, right now. So
Absolutely. Yes, very good. Very well said. Absolutely. All right. Well, in the co-main event of this thing, we got Iwan Cutelaba going up against Navajo Stirling. Now, Iwan Cutelaba is a wild card. This is a guy that you never really, I don't think anybody ever thinks Iwan Cutelaba is going out there and he is going to win. This guy is it's got it in the bag. There's no craziness could happen in an Iwan Cutelaba fight. He's going out there with a monotrack mind, a monorailed mind directly to victory. No one ever thinks that. However, going up against Navajo Stirling, who is a guy who is, I think that people have been rightfully a little skeptical of him, not because he's not been winning, but because he's not been living up to the potential that people think that he has. He did get a knockout in his last fight, so that is starting to see a little bit more out of what you would suspect to see out of Navajo Stirling. But I think that people think that there is a greater fighter in there that just has not been fully unlocked yet. And his fights are the reason that is the perception. Like he is not living up to his own potential, at least up until now. But with the last performance, he might be starting to come around to it, even if it took a circuitous route to get there. So before I give my prediction, do you have anything to add? And I will then do so.
I am with you. I'm with you on a little bit of it. I think Navajo Sterling in his last performance showed the wrestling. Like I think that he showed okay, he's a big body. If someone tries to wrestle with him, he can lock up, he can flip you around to the cage, he can break, he can get back to the striking. I had also seen Cutelaba, this guy, he was in a fight against Magomed Ankalaev. Ankalaev cracks him and he starts doing the whole playing possum, doing this, and the fight gets stopped early. Okay, cool. They rematch it. Ankalaev knocks him out in the first round. So, with that being said, Ankalaev is not the craziest puncher power puncher. He's not that guy. He has a very solid game plan. He sticks to it. Bada bing. If he was able to chin Cutelaba not once. I mean, and the second time, obviously he was playing possum, but the fight was ended because of the shot itself, whatever you want to say. It's been a while since we've seen Cutelaba really just flop hard, like in a performance where you're like, God, that's why you can't bet on him, So I kind of see him running out here like a madman because this is a fight that he's been waiting to get his hands on. If you remember, this was supposed to happen April fucking 4th. He
Yes,
wanted
I
that
do.
fucking fight. Anyway, so he's gonna want to get his hands on Navajo. And I think Navajo, city kickboxing, big, powerful dude. He's really been working on it. I think it's just a real easy. He's gonna check him early, check him fast. Cutelaba is gonna fall, and the fight's gonna be over, and it's gonna be like a because Cutelaba is on a really good tear right now. He's making us believe like, holy shit, you could turn a career around at 32 when you're he was like 15 and 10 at the time. You know, like when we were talking about this dude's got to really cut it, like he was really starting to look rough, but he's starting to shape out a little bit. You know, he's got that veteran prowess, but it's been a while since we've realized why we don't bet on somebody like him. So, what would you like to say is your pick after all that?
No, I mean, really, I think that you nailed a lot of the points. Is that Cutelaba has lulled us into a false sense of security with what he's been doing, even though he is still a
Yes.
wild man. That's the thing too, is that he's getting these victories almost in spite of his own style, which is cool. I mean, I certainly enjoy seeing it, and it is like crazy to witness at times. It's like, how the hell did he actually pull that off? But you're having a wild man go up against a very disciplined guy, and I think that I'm
Yes.
being a little bit more charitable with saying that, like, it's discipline over like still coming into your own, because it is city kickboxing. It's very by the book, it's very measured. That has, like what I had said earlier on, Navajo Sterling, I think, needs to come into his own, but he's been around at this point long enough to be on that trajectory. Like I said, he's really having to make it, like, instead of taking like full steps, he's like half stepping his way up the
Yeah.
ladder, it feels like at times, because it's like that last finish was like he really had to work probably a lot harder than he needed to actually get that finish accomplished, but he did get the finish nonetheless. So I think Navajo Sterling is making the incremental improvements over time. For that reason, I think Navajo Sterling is who I'm
Let
picking.
me just double check. Oh yes, okay. The Bruno Lopez fight was his last one. Gosh, I damn, Ivan Urslan was really a long ago. I was thinking that was his most recent fight. But yes, you're talking about baby steps. I mean, to the fucking goal here. I mean, Tuco Turcos to Ivan Urslan to Balado to Bruno Lopez, and it's not even the Bruno Lopez that you think it is. You know, like
Right.
I am also gonna go with Navajo Sterling, and I think, guys, I think and I hate to say it because Cutelaba is fun. Like he gets on the mic and you don't know what he is like the rational Hokit, really. Like I mean, he comes out here and he does the babble, but like it's like okay, all right, all right, okay, yeah. So I can totally see him coming out here, wild man and everything. He's got the hype behind him. We're believing him as the fight comes, and then the first shot just fucking renders him lifeless, and I would hate to see it, but it's like that's Magomed Ankalaev did it, like I don't, so it's been too long since he's been cracked, stepping up in competition. Obviously you're going to have different matchups that can offer different things. Umar C is not going to be able to offer what Navajo Sterling is. I think Navajo Sterling just quickly, just right down the pipe, just fucking drops him.
Yeah, and I think the composure, what I was talking about, like the very measured approach, really does work in Navajo's favor in this fight. Like, being aware, being present in the fight, knowing that you've got a wild man coming at you, and just being able to navigate that, letting Cutelaba basically just kind of do his crazy shit and then just do your thing thereafter. Like, okay, get it out of your system, buddy. I'm gonna you out. I'll piece you up if I need to. I'll evade your takedowns as long as you want to try to do that, and then now I start enacting my own game plan. I think it's a long-term strategy that's going to pay off for Sterling.
Absolutely, I love it. This is a great pick. I'm actually happy to pick this one with you because I may not have sounded like I'm sold on Navajo before, but guys, you can always make improvements, and you can always have a good matchup where you can have something good go for you. I'm not sitting here thinking Navajo's going to be the goat. He's 9-0, but he has definitely made improvements. He still fucking wipes his fucking nose every time he wants to, but it's working. I'm not going to say shit about it. Navajo Sterling, lock it in.
Yeah, and hopefully after this, he'll actually get a picture on ESPN here. How they don't have a picture of him at this point is crazy.
Yeah, just too much aura.
Yeah, exactly. It's seriously, it's the mystique.
Mm.
All right. Well, next up down the line here is your old pal Vinicius Oliveira, and he is fighting Andre Touchy Fili. Oh man, Vinicius Oliveira. This is his big move up to the higher weight. Yes.
Yes, so this was actually this was a different fight against Giga Jakazdeh,
Correct.
and this is now a short notice fill in by Andre Fili. So yes, go ahead.
I mean, look, I've never been sold on Vinicius Oliveira. I think that like I say, he's a sly fighter, is the way I always describe him. He's very like crafty, but not in the way of veteran is crafty. He's crafty in a slick, kind of untouchable sort of way. Very like slithery is almost how I would describe him. He is very, the movement is in that kind of serpentine area for me. Andre Fili has just let me down too many times, man. I mean, like it's sad to say because I do think he's a good fighter at heart. I do think that he has the fundamentals are there, but then you see him get jump gillied by Melky Costa. You see him lose his last fight. I mean, like the way that he ends up in these fights at times, it's almost like he loses ground. It's like an incremental losing of ground over the time in some of these fights. It's like he's got the pieces of a great fighter that never equaled up to the full picture in the puzzle. And for that reason, at a better weight for Vinicius Oliveira, I think that not having to make that weight cut that obviously was a problem for him this time, it's going to be an easier cut. He's going to be coming in here fresh. He's obviously coming off of a loss that he wants to, get back from, knowing how bad he looked against Mario Bautista. This is going to be something that he needs to bounce back from. And he is the type of fighter. He's another guy that's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got an attitude to him that is, I think, why he kind of turns me off a lot. Like he's a guy that, really thinks a little bit highly of himself. I think he's going to want to come out and make a statement with this fight. And again, against a short notice, Andre Fili, I think that this is, I think he might have this.
I don't really like this. I mean, obviously, we got as an organization, you got to find a guy to fight. But for the fact that Vinicius Oliveira had a main event slot, and folded, got dominated, quit on the stool, just just fucking
Claw
whatever.
his way to the stool,
Yeah, basically. And it's just not great, So the fact that on at his featherweight debut, I thought Giga Chikadze was a very good introduction to the division. That's a good first round. I'll give you a first round, and then they're both gonna have to show you what they have after it. And I would say Giga is normally better at those. But Andre Fili getting short notice fill in. I mean, it's cool. Yeah, he's game. He's game to take a fight, but that lets Vinicius Oliveira off easy. He gets an easier fight because he gets a short notice fill in of Andre Fili, who he's going to have more confidence. Like, oh, this dude, he's been knocked out by Dan Ige. What is he to me? So Vinicius Oliveira having some confidence coming in here to his featherweight debut. I mean, it's going to be great to see him go and then down again, but it just feels like a hammy performance for him. Obviously, this is going to be a win for Vinicius Oliveira, but I've said that before, and I've been wrong. And if he is, I don't take no fault for it. I don't feel bad at all about it. That's his fucking life. If he don't want to fucking beat Andre Fili on short notice, that's up to fucking him. So he better come out here and do something good. But I don't know how Andre Fili. If you want to say, oh, he looked good against Delgado, blah 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 blah. Sure, whatever you want to say. Vinicius Oliveira, I'm going to say he's going to get a finish.
No, in fact, I mean, him looking fine against Delgado, but not winning that fight is exactly why I would not be picking him in this fight. You know what I mean? Like it's a solid, sound, fundamentally okay fight for him, but did not get the nod. Vinicius Oliveira comes in with a lot more variables than I think Delgado brought to the table in that fight. Now, granted, one thing I did want to say during the White House discussion that I did not say is shout out to my good friend Byron, who came into the watch along chat. Byron made a good point about people changing weight classes. And, the idea, I think I mentioned it briefly in the Pereira breakdown, but saying, they fly a little too close to the sun, moving all over the place with weight, just because they want to chase greatness. This is not that. Vinicius Oliveira probably should have been a featherweight to begin with. So like he's going up to his more like comfortable weight. I think that he's going to wear it fine. I think he's going to have the same amount of power there. Fili is not necessarily like a crazy knockout artist. He has knockouts on his record, but he's not a guy that you like you're constantly worried about the knockout happening. I think the movement of Vinicius Oliveira is going to be too crafty for Fili. It's going to be too slick, too sly. And I think Vinicius Oliveira, like you said, I don't necessarily think that it has to be a layup fight if Fili wants to come out here and really try to prove a point. But with the style that Oliveira has, I think that he does get the dub.
Yeah, I would say it. Yeah, unfortunately, I would say probably. I know he's only got 2 on his record, but he has a guillotine finish. So if Andre Fili wants to be silly, I mean, we'll see.
Bring back the jump knee, could happen.
Yeah, true.
So. All right. Well, we are in lockstep on that one as well, then. All right. This was an interesting fight here. This is Hyder Amil versus Christian Rodriguez. Hyder Amil, a guy that, I think both of us for a while there were decently high on. He came out, he obviously comes out with a lot of power and, brings a lot of energy early on in fights. And I'm a big fan of fast starters. He is definitely one of those kinds of guys. Rodriguez just one of those variable fighters that somehow gets the wins, but he often gets the wins over kind of newer guys, and then with more seasoned veteran fighters, kind of can falter. So I think that this is an interesting matchup. I think that this is a closer matchup than it might seem to some people, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts, and I will of course give my prediction.
Yeah, Hyder Amil is older. That's the real takeaway that you always have to look at is like his career is going to have to come quick. He may be here and he may look good, but the day that he doesn't, I mean, we cannot be surprised.
Which was his last fight, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, Jamal Emmers was his last fight, and yeah, he did not look great. He definitely took a loss, unanimous decision. But if I remember correctly, from what I was seeing in that fight, Hyder Emil was accepting position on his back, and he was making a lot of weird faces. I don't know if he was, injured, if there was like a rib injury, or if he was just winded and he was gasping for air. A lot of different things could have been the issue, but it did not look like a healthy version of Hyder Emil. And to lose to Jamal Emmers in a very convincing fashion, it was a bad look, and I want to believe that there was something up. Christian Rodriguez again, he has good performances, and then he has not. I've seen this dude not look good plenty of times. Hyder Emil, I want to believe he's taken the time off. I want to say that it probably was an injury. I mean, that it might have taken some time to heal. He's older. I mean, if it was a rib injury and he kept getting laid on and they kept poking, whatever you want to say, maybe he took the time off. Maybe he's ready to go. But I don't know. Christian Rodriguez is a very crafty young guy who's still 28 years old, could still potentially try to make the push that changes his career. It's still possible at 12-4. The doors are closer to being closed for Hyder Emil. So, what would you like to say? Who would you like to pick?
Well, I mean, the last thing I did want to mention about Rodriguez is he is coming off of two losses now. I mean, he's taken losses in his last two. One was to Andre Fili, and then the other to Melky Costa. So, I mean, this is not, not a great trajectory in the most recent time for him. I do understand where you're coming from with Emil being, the having the age not working in his favor. I don't know. This is a tough one in that regard. I don't know if I necessarily buy in as much as what you're saying about him being injured in the fight. I mean, it could have been the case. It certainly could have been, or it could have just been an off night. There are a couple of different things. I think that I'm going to lean on the good performances I've seen from Hyder Emil in the past and hope that he is able to draw that out of himself in this fight. Christian Rodriguez, I think, is just an uninspiring guy, to be perfectly honest. Like, he's, a dude that does not inspire a great deal of confidence when you see him fight, regardless of the times that you've seen him win. So for that reason, I am going to pick Hyder Emil. I'm not super confident in this because like I said, I do think that this is a closer fight than it might seem. But Hyder Emil, I think, has done better things to make me more confident in him than Rodriguez has to make me confident in him.
Okay, fair. I'm going to go ahead and take Christian Rodriguez, and I think Hyder Emil is going to walk forward, have some great pressure. It's going to look good up front, and then Christian Rodriguez is going to change levels and then take him down, and I don't think it's going to be a very fun fight. I think Christian Rodriguez is going to be able to suck the life out of the arena with this performance, lays on top of him and doesn't do much, and it was already exposed from Hyder in the last fight. Jamal Emmers is not a wrestler. I mean, that's a grappler who ended up on top, and Hyder Emil looked like he was gasping for fucking air. And that's just what it was looked like optically. Christian Rodriguez, if he's ever going to get a team together that takes shit seriously at 28 years old, a 36-year-old opponent, guy, come on, like, you got to get it done. They're clearly trying to, he was the dude who could beat the newcomers, but then he couldn't beat these guys. You have to get past this at some point. Hyder Emil right here, he's been knocked out, he's been dominated. Christian Rodriguez, get us a win right now.
Yeah, and it's a necessary win, really. I mean,
Yes.
Again, because Christian Rodriguez, like I said, I mean, he's not necessarily a fan favorite. He's not a dude who has a big amount of star power on his side. 3 losses in a row is never where you want to be in the UFC.
True.
Yep. So I like the pick. I'm all right with that, but we will see. All right, next up, I like this fight as well. This is Andre Lima versus Kevin Borjas. We talked a little bit about Peru and being somewhat underwhelming, which thankfully is starting to change. We just saw a Peruvian debutant come in and make a very big statement. I didn't mention that in the Ultimate Fighter breakdown. Of course, we saw that guy on the show not get picked for the team, and then now we saw him in Macau get that very nice win. So shout out to him for that.
Nice.
But yeah, so a good deal there. But obviously Borjas is kind of where that all started. My sort of thought process on Peru, because I see a lot of great Peruvian fighters in Inca FC and in FFC. And then we see them come into the UFC and they've been less than impressive. Borjas is certainly in that category to me. And he's going up against Andre Lima, another guy who I was very skeptical of early on. I always thought Andre Lima, maybe not as good as he might have appeared to be, but then we started to see him win and win somewhat convincingly. And I think that Andre Lima brings a lot of challenges to Kevin Borjas in this fight. What do you think?
I think challenges he does bring, yes, that is a very good point. But the challenge itself is Andre Lima's activity. Where has he been, and how long is too long before ring rust is actually a thing? It's not necessarily ring rust in my opinion. I think it is judge rust. You are not competing actively to what the judges are wanting. If you are not seeing if you're not feeling for your own eyes what the judges are wanting for a victory, you're not gonna be you're not just gonna jump back into it and be able to score the points that you were 2 years ago or a year ago, whatever it is. So Andre Lima, I mean, the game plan is gonna have to be a little different, but I think the grappling is gonna obviously be the thing that sets this apart. Kevin Borjas has some pretty good hands, and he might be able to keep him on the outside. But now that I think about it, man, I'm gonna take Kevin Borjas. I'm going to take Kevin Borjas because I think the boxing on the outside is going to be very, very, very good. Of course, it's always looked good. I mean, when it comes to the boxers in the flyweight division, I mean, he stood with Josh Van, of course, Imanol Rodriguez, who's another dude who's coming up here, and then Alessandre Costa, Sumer Darji. These are very good strikers for the flyweight division. Andre Lima, he's a decent striker, but he's more just kind of plod forward, sit right there, counter strike. I think Kevin might just get off on him on the feet. And if Andre Lima, it's going to be the wrestling and the grappling, of course, that sets it aside. But I don't know if he's going to be able to touch Kevin because Kevin Borjas is a damn good boxer on the feet, man. I will tell you that.
Well, I mean, Andre Lima, we watch a lot of Muay Thai on this channel, and Andre Lima certainly brings a Muay Thai style that has been effective for him in his previous fights. You talk about him being plotting. I think it's by design. I mean, I think that he really does come with Muay Thai fundamentals that work exceedingly well for him. And again, this is coming from a guy that was skeptical of him early on. I think that he has proven himself more to be a formidable opponent than his activity would certainly lead one to believe. So, I mean, look, I also do not know why he is not as active as he could be. It's a little bit concerning, but I have not seen anything to tell me that he is not going to be able to make light work of Kevin Borjas. If Imanol Rodriguez, the shortest guy in the promotion, was able to win the fight against Kevin Borjas, I mean, I think I got to believe that Andre Lima comes in here and gets the job done pretty easily.
But and the thing that I think is interesting, because when you're asking like, where's Andre Lima been? Why has he not been active? Well, you have a guy who hasn't competed in over a year. He's an undefeated fighter. And now he's about to face a guy who's 1-4 in his last 5. Seems like you're pretty confident that you're going to win this one, right? I would say the undefeated fighter should have reasonably some confidence that he could make this one easy. And as of what we just seen with the main event, we've seen a lot of undefeated fighters get checked for no reason. This would be a better reason than the other ones. This dude hasn't fought. He hasn't faced a dude who has faced Josh Van multiple years ago. Kevin Borjas, I don't know if he's going to be the dude who upsets the world, but every time I have watched him, I think, God damn, that dude is fucking good at strikes, man. That dude can fucking throw.
All right.
So,
look, I mean, he definitely, like, he's another person that's on a 2-fight losing streak and is not, a household name around here. So again, you never want to be on a 3-fight losing streak in the UFC. So he certainly needs that win. This would be a big win for him, I would say. Taking the O away from Andre Lima is a statement. And flyweight is a very competitive division. So if he wants to be around amongst these real killers in this division, this is the exact fight you have to win. So make it happen, Kevin Borjas. But I am going to stick with my guns, and Andre Lima is my pick.
all right, I love it.
All right. Well, next up down the line, Melsik Bagdasaryan is taking on the debuting Murtazali Magomedov. I heard about this guy, Murtazali Magomedov, making his debut. It's getting a little bit of buzz in the conversation circles, Chase. I do not know much about this guy aside from the fact that he is 10-0 and he is from Kyrgyzstan. Melsik Bagdasaryan is a dude who got knocked the fuck out by Jean Silva, and that's about all you can say about him, really. Melsik Bagdasaryan is kind of an NPC in this sport, I have to say. I hate to describe anybody that way, but you got to prove something to me, man. And I've never seen anything out of Melsik Bagdasaryan that leads me to believe that there is more and better for him. Plus, aside from Arman Sarukian, Armenia has not really been graduating the highest level of talent either in this sport. You know, who was the other?
Armin
Armin
Petrosian.
Petrosian. Exactly. That's exactly who I was thinking of. Not, you know, what can you say about that? You know, he's no longer around. So, I mean, what does this Magomedov bring to the table? I don't know, but I do know what I get from Melsik Bagdasaryan.
Well, I'll tell you this, Melsik, I have always been against this dude. When they faced him against John Silva, I said this is criminal. This is
Yeah.
obviously this is an easy finish for John Silva, you know. And what exactly happened? He styled out on him. You know, people were trying to tell me Melsik was some crazy kickboxing champion. It's like, all right, brother, I get it, whatever.
Yeah.
This Murtazali, I will tell you this, his nickname is the Highlight. So he is a Justin Gaethje clone, of course. He is also from Kyrgyzstan, so you know he has wrestling. I mean, if you look at Miktabek, if you look at Salty Baldiev, they got wrestling, guys. I don't know what to tell you. They just do. And the thing that I will also tell you is that he has 5 knockouts and 5 submissions, 100% finish rate. So, with all that being said, Magomed is going to win probably by submission. I would say he's going to come in here and just probably pop his head off. Just like he's gonna probably knock him, rough him up a little bit, take him down, and then just rip his head off. Probably.
Yeah,
That's what I would like to say.
This could be another Mr. Beast kind of situation. You know, I mean, it certainly has the potential for that. We'll have to see how he actually performs. You know, if it's going to be an easy fight for him or otherwise. But yeah, I mean, you know, how many times they can set up Melsik Bagdasaryan to lose, you know, is kind of the questionable thing here. And he's only 8-3, so it's not like this is the worst record we have ever seen, but we've not seen anything good out of him. So yeah, I mean, I got to believe that the guy who has 100% finish rate and is 10-0 is going to come out here and make a statement. Yet another guy who has jumped the line. This guy did not have to come through the contender series, right? So,
yeah.
You know, I mean, that speaks for itself. You know, when the organization finds somebody worth latching on to.
Oh no, he did go contender series.
Yep. Did he? Oh,
he faced this guy, Brahim. Oh my gosh. He beat, wait a minute. Okay, so he beat the Mexican guy that was in Habib's camp, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Brahim Zurcher. I feel like this is who this guy is, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah, the Mexican who went to Dagestan. I remember that storyline. Okay, well, my mistake then. I apologize. I did not remember him from the contender series, but that's probably because it was a very quick finish. So that being said, yeah, I mean, I'm going with the debuting fighter over here, Magomed. Go in there and make your statement, because I certainly believe that you are going to.
Yeah, absolutely. With a name like that, brother, give him everything.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, so there you go with that one. Prelims here. We've got our girl Bia Mesquita going up against your girl Melissa Mullins. Ooh, this is a tough match for Melissa. Bia Mesquita has been on quite the tear. She is the queen bee over here, right? The lady goat is
lady goat, exactly.
The lady goat. Yeah, I mean, she gets the nickname for a reason. You know, we always say when you are a woman and you are a finisher, you get the eyeballs, you get noticed around these parts, and Bia Mesquita certainly lives up to that. I like Melissa Mullins. She also has been a finisher, if you recall. I mean, she has finished at least one fight I can recall. I think it might have been her debut, maybe not. But either way, I remember a Melissa Mullins finish. That's what put her on my radar for that exact reason. Oh, she's a woman from England and she actually finished a fight. That, you know, there you go. There's the beacon that gets set off. But last couple of fights, not so much. She had that last little incident where her opponent pulled out. The fight had to get canceled, and she was very emotional about it.
She was begging for them to find a fucking carpenter for her to fight, too. I won't forget that, Melissa. Jesus.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, look, does that play a part in this fight? Probably not, but it does speak a little bit maybe to the emotional state, the underlying emotions of the female fighter here. You know, we've talked about Rose Namajunas and her emotional state being sometimes something that you can, at least have as a minor factor in things. Bia Mesquita, doesn't bring any of that shit to the table, bro. She just goes in there and she crushes. I think that this is a pretty easy win for Bia, unfortunately.
I think you are cooking the Lady Go Bia Mosquito. I mean, she's shown she's got grappling. Her striking leaves a little to be desired because it's very slow, very sluggish. She's huge. She
Yeah.
is a bantamweight, competitor. I will tell you that. Melissa Mullins, though, she trains a lot of jujitsu. I will say that it's not going to be, what she finishes this fight with here. She obviously will be able to not get submitted, is what I'm praying for when it comes to her jujitsu. As long as it's formidable and then the round ends, cool. But I want to go ahead and I want to back my girl. I know you want to pick Mosquito, and it's a very good pick. I think she is obviously more likely than not supposed to win this fight. But Melissa Mullins, there's a reason she's one of my favorites. Aside from being a very, very attractive, she is a dog. She is hungry. She obviously wanted the fight back in her hometown, and they wouldn't find her a fight. So she's gonna bring all that energy here. And I'm going to go ahead and take her to get a big upset against Bia Mosquito because, in typical fashion, divisions get flipped on their head, and people who have been around will ruin the opportunity for people who think that they're on their way to a title opportunity very quickly. And this is bantamweight. Bia Mosquito, it would unfortunately, in the grand scheme of things, if she smokes Melissa Mullins, it is worse for her because there's no way for her to contend for a belt as of right now. There's too many things going on. If she takes a loss, learns from it, which is good. Losses are fine. Earlier in your career, if you're undefeated, you take a loss, you come back, you get better. If she takes a loss here, I think she has time to get better, come back, and then the belt will actually have more of an opening rather than everything that's going on at the top of this division right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you make a good point if that does end up happening, but I just don't think that this is the fight that it happens. I think that Bia Mosquito, I honestly, I do think that Bia Mosquito will be in the title equation at some point sooner than later. I mean, probably within the next year or so. I think that she's probably going to be making her way up into the rankings and, higher up thereafter. So, yeah, I think this is just, kind of another one of those steps in that process. And yeah, I think Bia Mosquito takes this one pretty handily, probably by finish as well.
Yeah, I love the pick, but I'm going with my girl, Melissa Mullins, guys. We're going to do this together.
I like it. I like it. Stick to your guns, brother. I appreciate it. All right, next up is Alan Nascimento versus Mitch Raposo. Mitch Raposo, again, I say it every time that we bring up Mitch Raposo, a guy that, was somewhat underwhelming early on, but has seemingly turned the ship around. He's been doing some decent things, looking a lot better in his more recent fights than he had in the past. However, Alan Nascimento is 22-6. This is a lot of experience with this guy, and you know exactly what he brings to the table. I mean, this guy goes out there and he is going to make this a very clinched takedown jiu-jitsu-y kind of match. I mean, it's going to be grapple versus grapple over here, and a Brazilian generally comes in with a certain level in that regard. So what are your thoughts on this fight, Chase?
Well, the first thing that you have to notice about Alan Nascimento's record, and this is what's really funny. So, 2 fights ago, he beat Filio by unanimous decision.
Yes.
The next fight, he beats Cody Durden by submission. Um, Both of these dudes are way higher in the rankings than this dude right now. And Cody Durden just came on short notice and beat Filo, and now he's like the man of the fucking town after he lost like 6 in a row and then comes back and has this performance. This dude beat both of those guys, apparently. Who fucking knew? Apparently, nobody cares because he's not active enough and he's not even in the mix enough that it matters. Cody Durden literally, again, he lost like 5 in a row in the time that he lost to this dude.
Well, he had an injury, I think, that took him out of his last scheduled match, I believe. But
fair enough. But I will also say that with this Nascimento dude, I remember distinctly him going for submissions on Filo and him not like there was you could see the air pocket like through and it's like you're a Brazilian, brother. Are you? Like I don't know what's happening here. But so I want to believe that Nascimento is going to have a very good, clean striking performance. His striking is very crisp. It's very technical. He's kind of like a Steve Urseg on, like with the striking. I like it. The grappling, he flows. He can scramble. Is it the fight that is going to be dirty enough where he loses? No, I don't think. I don't think Mitch Raposo is going to bring that level of intensity to throw him off of his game. But no, I don't think there's a but, man. Who are you going with?
I want to believe that Mitch Raposo lives up to the improvements that we have said that he has been making, but I do feel like this might be a little bit of a far step up, because like you said, I mean, Nascimento, the striking, to say that he's at Steve Urseg's level of striking might be a little,
Technicality,
yeah,
it's
okay,
not.
the technicality, yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, power maybe not as much. He is solidly fundamental. He's got the foundational elements of a quality fighter, plus his bread and butter is the grappling. So I mean, all of those things track, as a well-rounded fighter in a competitive division. Mitch Raposo being a guy that had to, kind of find his sea legs here, looked like a changed man in his last fight. So I really do want to believe that there's better for Mitch Raposo, but I wish that there was a fight in between this fight, like for Mitch Raposo. You know what I mean? Like he gets a nice win in his last one. I wish he had one more win in there to be like, that's the thing that solidifies him. But since he's taken this big of a leap, it might be a little bit more than he can chew right now. So I think that I'm going to go with Alan Nascimento.
I'm also going to take Alan Nascimento here, and that's okay. This dude is fine. He's nothing too crazy. He's not great. He's not horrible. But if he loses to Mitch Raposo,
Go out there and get a knockout. Go out there and bro, change the narrative again. Like, and again, I'm even saying it right now that the narrative already is in the process of being changed. I
yeah,
think this is a tremendously large challenge in the middle of an evolving process for you. You know what I mean? An evolving narrative for you. So
yeah.
like, go out there and overcome this, and then maybe now that narrative is solidified. So prove us wrong, Mitch Raposo. But until you do, I gotta go with Nascimento.
Hell yeah.
All right. Next up, Gaston Bolaños. Man, they put all the lesser Peruvians on this one. Gaston Bolaños is fighting Michael Aswell. Michael Aswell Jr., the Texas Chin over here. Man, all right. This is actually a pretty decent matchup based on where both of these guys are in their careers, I would say. Michael Aswell is a dude who will go out there and get punished relentlessly and never give up on himself, but he will get punished. Gaston Bolaños is about as okay as they come, I would say. I mean, 8-5. He exemplifies 8-5 record to a T. Gaston Bolaños. He is about as average as I think they come. He is, again, like I said, the reason that I was a little bit uncertain of Peruvian fighters was him and Kevin Borjas. So both of them on the same card. I think that there's a reason for this. Michael Aswell is coming off of a loss, I believe, right? I mean, these two
Yeah, Luke
losses now.
Riley.
Yeah, and then I mean before that too, right? I mean that was oh no, he had the win against Lucas Almeida in between there, but yeah, Michael Aswell is as candy cane as it comes, bro. He is a legitimate candy cane. 3-2 in his last, or 2-3 in his last 5. Bogdan Grant he lost to. Dorian Ramos, I don't even remember that fight. That was in Fury. So yeah, so I mean Bogdan Grant in the Contender Series he loses to. Ramos in Fury he wins. Loses to Blachioki, wins over Almeida, and loses to Riley. I mean, this is complete candy cane record over here. A little bit of a toss-up, but I don't know, man. I got to ride with my dude Michael Aswell, at least to make it to the bell. I don't know if he's going to get the win, but he'll definitely not get finished.
Yeah, no, this one's very easy for me. I'm glad you're taking as well, of course, Michael Aswell. Look at the significant strikes landed per minute. I mean, Michael Aswell is a gunner. I mean, he trains with Josh Van. That's his best friend. They throw slugs out there, dudes. They throw those things like it is no fucking problem. And Gaston Bolaños, shout out to him. He might have the Latino chin and he might not go down. I don't know how many times that he's, been finished in his career. Michael Aswell, I mean, he's only been knocked out once. And it was against Marcus McGee. I mean, but that's kind of like a tactical that's a different style than what a Michael Aswell. But Michael Aswell might be able to just put the pressure up into, and he can just rain punches and the ref has just got to stop these. He's got to step in because Gaston Bolaños won't do nothing,
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a
love this.
sluggy kind of fight. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
that's really what they're trying to set up is like the two sluggers who are going to go out there and just try to take each other's heads off and probably not be able to. So it's just going to be that prolonged.
Yeah, I love it. No, yeah, Michael Aswell for sure is what I'm taking here.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I guess we are in lockstep on that one. And and look, what I said about the Peruvian fighters, don't get this impression like I am downing these Peruvian fighters. I want Peru to be better represented in this sport. I'm glad that we are starting to see a better crop of them come in. So if we're shuffling out some of these lesser Peruvian fighters, no problem there for me.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, this next one up, this is an interesting fight to me. This is Carol Hosa versus Luana Santos. Carol Hosa, as again, another fighter who is just inconsistent, and it hurts my heart because I have seen Carol Hosa have fights that I would consider to be worthy of fight of the year. And I know that that might be crazy to say. You know, it's very rare that you get women in that conversation, but Carol Hosa has been in wars before. She will slug it out. Then there are fights that she comes in, and it looks like she does not want to be there. She doesn't want to, she's not engaging in the fight at all. She's, having trouble, in the clinch situations. She looks a different fighter depending on what fight she is in. Very inconsistent and unpredictable. Luana Santos on the other side, as much as I am questioning of her and how she handles her pets, she is a rather consistent fighter with her grappling abilities. She's decent on the ground. If she can take you down, which she might be able to do against Carol, it's going to be a long fight with Luana Santos on top of you for a lot of it. So what do you think, Chase?
I think this one a lot easier for me because I'm not somebody who glazes Luana Santos. I don't think she is at bantamweight. I mean, I've seen a lot better people. I've seen her struggle and I've seen her win. I've seen her win fights that I don't necessarily think were as cut and dry as the judges made it seem. I think she suffers from pretty privilege. I think this is just how it is sometimes. Carol Rosa, though, she has been around the block. She has been in this organization. She has won decisions. She has lost decisions. Luana Santos has a split decision loss to a Jenna Bishop, who is in the PFL right now, about to go fight Irene Del Lipsky or whatever her name is. Luana Santos lost to her. I know it was the regionals, but I mean, split decision loss. It was at least close to somebody who's can't even compete now at the highest level. Kara Rosa has been competing at the highest level for however long it's been. I'm going to take her to win by decision, and I think it's not even close. I think Luana Santos. I think a lot of people who are going to bet on her based off of what they believe they saw in her last performances. Oh my God, she's so good and she's so hot. So like, how often do you get somebody who's pretty and good at fighting? They're going to be very upset when Carol Rosa does what Carol Rosa does, and the judges say, "Yep, she won," and it's a very boring fight. But you get what you get when you don't actually pay attention to what Luana Santos is putting out there. I would say that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that Luana Santos, she's had performances that were she definitely got the win, but I've never like seen her in a fight where I was like, man, domination. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Carol Hosa, I've seen her lose fights that I thought were very close. And I think that for that reason, I am also going to be taking Carol Hosa. Because I think that what should happen here is Carol Hosa is turning a corner. I mean, she did get a win over Nora Cornell, so it doesn't speak crazy volumes. But like you said, I mean, this veteran experience should be winning out here. And I as long as she does not allow herself to get taken down and held down, it's the only thing I'm worried about. She is the bigger fighter out of the two of them, even though the for some reason the stats don't make it seem that way. I mean, she's 5'5" versus 5'6". That doesn't track in my mind. Maybe I'm, miss thinking about it or whatever, thinking about it wrongly. But I think the Carol Hosa is going to have some heft on her at the very least. I think she should be able to hold her own, thwart the takedown attempts, get your striking going. I want to believe in Carol Hosa on this one. Please, do this as you should, because if I'm wrong about this and Luana Santos gets this win, I think it just sets a bad precedent for Luana Santos continuing to just be able to do this kind of boring ground lay and pray that she does. I mean, she really is just one of those kinds of fighters, and like it works because it's women's MMA, but that shouldn't be acceptable.
I definitely agree with you. This is Carol Rosa's. This is her moment right here. I believe in her for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on what Bleeding Edge is asking, yes, I did a whole video called "Don't Fuck with Your Dogs," I believe is the title of that video. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to the channel and watch that video. It'll explain everything.
Absolutely, it's a good video, by the way.
Appreciate it. All right, next up on the list here, who the heck are these guys? We've got Leon Shabazian versus Levon Chalkley.
This
Chockle.
is this
Chalkley.
is this is Edmund's brother, by the way.
Oh, is it? Leon Shabazian, Edmund's brother. How about that?
From what I am aware, this is his brother. I maybe I'm wrong, maybe I got gypped, but the thing that I want to start out by telling you, Leon Shabazian in his pro mixed martial arts career, he has one KO TKO, and he has been TKO'd 4 times. I want you to listen to these names, at least of the 3. Now, back in 2017, Gabe Green knocked him out in CXF Cali Kings.
Shout out
Back
to the
in
legend Gabe Green,
back in 2019 on Contender Series, Phil Rowe knocked him out. Okay,
Florida
back in
legend.
back in 2023 in United Fight League, Ryan Loader knocked him out in the first round. Now, if if you remember 2 weeks ago, we had a 6'5" welterweight that moved pretty well, I thought. This is a 6'4" welterweight who doesn't seem to be very good at striking, and he has 11 submissions, never been subbed. But if Ryan Loader is doing you dirty in the first round knockout, minute 25, Ryan Loader just walks in and just dusts you off. I'm not thinking you're the fucking striking. I mean, there's no reason for you to be if you're 6'4" and you ain't got the striking to back it up. I don't care how many submissions you have. Taliesin Teixeira has a lot of fucking submissions for what it's worth, compared to his record. But he still gets hit and falls, and we have a Georgian fighter. So whatever you would like to believe about the Georgians, I mean, if they come in ready to pack a punch, sure. But Shabazian, what are they going to do with him if not try to feed him to an opponent that's going to put his head in the choke or something?
Well, I mean, and that's kind of what leading up to, because really, if you're going off of what you see on the screen right now, you don't even get stats for the Georgian fighter. I mean, this guy is,
Nice.
a little bit of a mystery over here. But I will tell you, it's not so much of a mystery. This is a dude who is coming out of Bellator. Now, this is a guy in his last 5. He's 4-1 in his last 5. Last 3, knockout, got knocked out, then another knockout. The other 2 are unanimous decision wins. So based on what you have just told me about Leon Shabazian being a guy who can get knocked out, this would seem to be a collision course between someone who is knock out a bull versus someone who does the knocking out.
Yeah. So, what would you like to say? Who are you going to take in this one?
I think I'm going to take the Georgian. I'm taking Levon Chocoli over here. I mean, based on the conversation that we just had, and being that I am not very familiar with either of these guys, I think that I have to lean on the logic here, and that's all that I have to go off of until I see them fight. So for that reason, if you want to flip the coin on the other side, so be it, Chase. But I'm going to go with our Georgian King Chocoli.
No, 6'4" as a welterweight and not an elite striker. I can't buy into that. It just doesn't speak well. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the Georgian as well.
Yeah,
They gotta make up for fucking Ilia. So
can I just ask one quick question, by the way? And this is just something that we've probably talked about this before, but why is it okay that we get this level of fighters coming into the organization when we know that there are other fighters who are out there who want to be in the UFC and have to scrape and claw and pry their way in? I don't understand the decision making sometimes, because we've seen fighters on the regional circuit yelling, "Oh, Dana, Hunter, Sean, I'm here, I'm ready, blah blah blah, this and that," and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we get a Leon Shabazian and a Levon Chocoli. And where did they come from? I mean, Bellator, we know for one, but like, why is this okay, Chase?
I mean, his brother's a ranked guy now. I mean, everybody else who's ranked gets to get their brother into the organization. Look at Muhammad Usman. I mean, come on.
True. Yeah. I mean, we got to find out if that's actually his brother or not, because
It might be. I mean, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I just had to make that point. But rounding out this card and starting things off, if you thought you didn't know the other 2 guys, the first 2 guys are even more of a mystery over here. We've got Shane Collins, who is 7-0, going up against Otari Tanzalovia, and he is from the Contender Series. I do remember the name. I don't remember the story. So I mean, if this is another coin flip, I mean, you got an undefeated fighter versus a guy who's 10-1. I mean, I guess we can go through the records, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look here to see if there's anybody that's worth mentioning. I mean, this dude got knocked out by Josiah Musasa. I mean,
that's a Shane Collins you're talking about.
That is a Otari.
Oh, Otari Tanzalovi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
So
he was the guy who went up. Yeah, gotcha.
On Contender Series, he lost by split decision to Josiah Musasa. So I mean, almost could have won. The other guy got signed off of his performance for winning. So I guess if you look at it, if he would have won, he potentially could have got it. I don't know. So experience, I would take more of. I mean, he's got seven TKOs. I'm gonna take both the Georgians. I think the Georgian power is gonna prevail.
All right, fair enough. I mean, more experience on the Tanzalovi side, so I think that tracks. Being that I want to be surprised in a good way, and it is a coin flip to me. I will go with Shane Collins. Why not? Say
All
Shane,
right.
America first in this fight, coming out strong. Hopefully, it'll be a banger fight. We don't have women in the first fight of the night, so hopefully these guys make up for our women's banger fight starter.
Bout order subject to change. Don't worry. So
Yeah, good point, right? They'll just swap in Carol Hosa and start this card off with them. But fair enough. So there you have it, everybody. I mean, we all locked in. We're good on these picks. Chase, you feeling comfortable?
oh, I'm feeling good.
I love it. All right. Well, that being said, shout out to Sanjay coming in at the very end of the stream. Appreciate you, brother. And of course, you guys can watch along with us for this upcoming card this weekend. Again on Saturday, thankfully. We're back to our normal, regularly scheduled fights. So back to Saturday. You can watch us on our individual watch alongs, hang out for these fights. You can find me at youtube.com/@YamaShow. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
Obviously, streaming Saturdays, UFC, and Friday morning streaming One Championship at youtube.com/@CP Smalls, of course.
I love it. I am at Yama Show on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. Make sure you are following on the socials to get all of the updates. Hoping to have some more content for you out this week as well. And we will be back here next Monday to talk about all of these fights and so much more as we always do. So until then, everybody, you have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. And as always, fight on.